Chapter 1841. But Jiang Beibei showed some hostility and vigilance. She hugged the big black dog's neck and whispered in his ear. "This beautiful little sister. Why is she looking at me like that? Does she want to be my mother?" At this moment, everyone looked at Jiang Tian with envy. Even Zhang Muyun's eyes were spitting fire, and his teeth were almost broken. Getting cultivation resources was only one aspect. The key was that Lin Dyer seemed to be in love with him. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would kowtow and thank him. After all, the benefits of being a sparring partner were too good. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian cupped his hands slightly and said sincerely, "Marquis, I have an objection." "What? You have an objection? Say it." Lin Hanqing was dumbfounded, and there was a faint anger in his heart. This kid, how could he not know when to stop? Didn't he know that I was also facing a certain amount of pressure by helping you like this? I think that young Marquis Lin Yang's cultivation is low, his foundation is mediocre, and his personality is lazy. You need a sparring partner, Jiang Tian said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Are you scolding me? Lin Yang was so depressed that his intestines turned green. I treated you as a brother and protected you all the way. I didn't expect you to think that I was so unbearable. You even said it in public. We're not done. Fellow Taoist Xiqing's comments are really pertinent. But Fang Goyu's beautiful eyes were kind, and she covered her mouth and smiled. Pertinent my ass. Lin Yang spat out. If it weren't for Jiang Tian's strength being too strong, he would definitely challenge Jiang Tian. Fang Goyu ignored him and said seriously, however, fellow Taoist Xiqing, Sister Dyer's cultivation is higher and her talent is stronger. A month ago, she defeated the imperial princess Dongfang Ying, and her name shook the entire Eastern Empire. If you become her sparring partner, your cultivation will definitely improve faster, and your gains will be greater. At the mention of this, Lin Dyer proudly puffed out her chest, thinking that Jiang Tian would change his mind. Lin Hanqing nodded and said, "That's right, fellow Taoist Xiqing. Do you want to reconsider?" He knew that his son was a cultivation trash, born with damaged meridians. The metal stone decoction had consumed countless heavenly and earthly treasures, but it was useless. It would be difficult for him to become a talent. In the future, when he inherited the title of nobility, he would just be a rich man waiting to die. On the other hand, his daughter had a brighter future. Jiang Tian was obviously not an ordinary Jindan stage cultivator, and he was not even in the Jindan stage. If he became his daughter's training partner, it was very likely that his daughter's potential would be stimulated in a short period of time, allowing her to reach the nascent soul stage quickly. Who knew that Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "They're all too weak. It's hard for me to improve no matter who's my sparring partner. I just want to fulfill my duty and raise the young Marquis's cultivation." "What do you mean? How dare you, again and again, refuse to be my study partner, not putting me in your eyes?" Hearing this, Lin Dyer's beautiful eyes suddenly turned cold. She looked at Jiang Tian angrily, and secretly snorted in her heart. "I've already condescended and agreed in public. Aren't you slapping my face and making me unable to get out of the embarrassing situation? If this spreads out in the future, won't I become a laughing stock?" Although Lin Hanqing was reluctant, but Jiang Tian had already said so, it was not good to disobey. After pondering for a while, he nodded and said, "Fine. Let's do it this way for the time being." With that, he turned and left, walking into the depths of the mansion. Before Zhang Linfeng and the other elders, as well as Zhang Muyun, left, they all glared at Jiang Tian with resentment and hatred. It was obvious that they had resentment in their hearts. As a result, Jiang Tian and his daughter stayed in the Jinyuanhou mansion. He lived in a side room in Lin Yang's courtyard. For the remaining 2 months, he practiced with Lin Yang for 2 hours every day, but did not give too much guidance. Lin Yang was originally lazy, and the key was that he had long been disappointed in his cultivation progress, so he also dealt with it casually. For the rest of the time, Jiang Tian took his daughter and the big black dog, strolling around Maple City, tasting delicious food, listening to songs and stories, and seeing the local customs. The memories of his previous life were vividly recalled. Every day, he rose at sunrise and rested at sunset. Except for the occasional battle with Zhang Muyun, He had never exposed his magic power and magical powers, just like an ordinary mortal. But just from this battle, the people in the Jinyuanho mansion also knew that an incomparably powerful golden core cultivator had come, with a cute daughter and a big black dog. However, everyone also quickly discovered that Jiang Tian was very kind and approachable. Mr. Xiqing, are you going out for tea again? Liang Yilong's osmanthus cakes and tea cakes are very good. Uncle Xiqing, the battle through the heavens you told us last time was too wonderful. I want to hear more. When will you have time? Fellow Taoist Xiqing, this is the Lingji that I picked from the Xianji forest. It seems that it has been growing for hundreds of years. You can make soup for Beibei. Everywhere, the surrounding guards and servants would enthusiastically greet Jiang Tian, especially those cultivators who came from outside the river. They even regarded Jiang Tian as their backbone. After all, for many years, no one dared to go against the Zhang family's teacher. Jiang Tian made them lose face, and they admired him from the bottom of their hearts. Now the entire Jinyuanho mansion's servants had been divided into two distinct factions, the local faction and the overseas faction, and Jiang Tian and Guo Chuandong were already the core of the overseas faction. Jiang Tian also smiled in response. He was dressed in a green robe, black boots, and a square scarf as a crown. His facial features were deep, full of charm, and his gaze was calm, like a middle-aged scholar. Jiang Beibei was dressed in a cute red robe, with clear eyes and smooth skin, like a porcelain doll carved from jade. She had already become one with the children in the mansion, and had become the king of the children. She took the Lingji and put it into the storage ring, and said proudly, "Thank you, uncle, I will make soup for father." Wow, Beibei is so young, and she knows how to make soup? Everyone praised. Of course. Without mother, I want to be father's little cotton-padded jacket and take good care of him. He is not used to the food in the mansion. The food I make has mother's taste. Father likes it the most. Jiang Beibei smiled sweetly, revealing two shallow dimples on her cheeks. She looked innocent and unaffected. So sensible. Fellow Taoist Xiqing, you are lucky. My little girl has just grown up. She is really cute. Everyone praised sincerely. Jiang Tian smiled with relief. I made osmanthus cake. Everyone try it. Jiang Beibei took out pieces of cake from the storage ring and distributed it to everyone. Finally, she stuffed a piece into Jiang Tian's mouth and smiled. Father, how do you feel? It tastes good. Beibei's cooking is getting better and better. Jiang Tian rubbed the girl's little head. Jiang Beibei's cute big eyes narrowed into slits, and she was like a cat, letting out a comfortable hum. She was chatting with a few guards, and servants. Suddenly, Lin Yang walked over quickly and said anxiously, "Brother, bad news. Second Prince Dongfengli, Marquis Zishan, Marquis Shanshui, and Marquis Shanshui have come together to punish Lin Dyer. Hurry and accompany me to the main hall to take a look. Maybe there will be a big fight, a bloody battle. Don't panic." Lin Dyer, what crime did she commit? Jiang Tian asked indifferently. Hey, 3 months ago, Princess Dongfeng came to our 3 cities of the Red Rock Basin to patrol and play. At that time, Jianghan City, Blue Wave City, and our Maple City held a grand welcoming ceremony. The Eastern Empire was founded on cultivation, so naturally, they would compete in cultivation to liven things up. At that time, Lin Dyer also fought with Dongfeng and won, hitting Dongfeng with a palm. Lin Yang said helplessly. At that time, my father even praised Dyer. Who would have thought that suddenly, Dongfeng would fall ill? Dongfengli brought Marquis Zishan and Marquis Shanshui to punish Lin Dyer and avenge Dongfeng. Chapter 1842. Dongfeng. Jiang Tian suddenly felt that the name was a bit familiar. In his previous life, when he lived in the Divine Origin world, he had read a lot of historical materials and medical books. Dongfeng was recorded in many of them. Dongfeng did die in the end. The Dongfeng royal family did take away a lot of Jinyuanho's territory and severely punish Lin Dyer. But in fact, Dongfeng Ying's strange illness was not because of Lin Dyer's palm. It was because of her special body, the extremely rare Nining body. Her body was cold, her dantian was empty, and her meridians were weak. It was a serious illness. Of course, this explanation came from many years later. It came from the inference of the celestial sects in the central galaxy based on the symptoms, and they even gave many treatment and cultivation plans. However, with the current level of treatment and alchemy in the divine origin world, even those soul formation alchemy gods couldn't solve it. After recalling the treatment plan in his mind, Jiang Tian glanced at the hall and said, "Let's go. Let's go and have a look." He didn't like Lin Dyer, but in his previous life, whether it was Lin Yang, Lin Hanqing, or even the ancestral patriarch of the Lin family, they had taken care of and helped Jiang Tian a lot. In the end, their family was destroyed because of him. For their sake, Jiang Tian certainly wouldn't ignore it. Around the majestic hall, armored soldiers stood in great numbers, filling the entire sky. They were arranged in rows and filled with dense killing intent. The atmosphere was heavy and solemn, making people feel extremely depressed. Zhang Linfeng and Zhang Muyin led a group of guards and cultivators from the Lin clan. They were facing off against a group of cultivators from Jianghan City and Jade Wave City with their swords drawn. But if one looked carefully, they would find that the cultivators of Jianghan City and Jianghan City had the upper hand. Most of them were peak-stage nascent soul cultivators, and their numbers were 3 times that of the Lin family. There were even 3 half-step soul formation cultivators. They were all arrogant, talking and laughing, as if they were in a place where no one could stop them. Their eyes were also superior, as if they were looking down on a group of ants. On the Lin family's side, there was only Zhang Linfeng, who was a half-step to the soul formation stage, and Zhang Muyin, who was a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator. The rest of them were almost all normal nascent soul cultivators with relatively low levels. They were so nervous that they were covered in cold sweat. Their hands holding their weapons were trembling slightly. What's going on? Why are there so many people here? Yeah, I heard that even the second prince is here. It must be something big. What to do? Should we fight or run? Let's run. We can do our best, but not our lives. Many guards and sinecures of the Lin clan were talking to each other through their soul awareness. All of them were confused and uneasy. Prince Dongfangli sat in the middle of the hall, and a group of people stood behind him, including the Marquis of Purple Robe, the Marquis of Shanshui, and a few of their trusted ministers. There were 7 or 8 people in total. In addition, his sister, Princess Dongfangying, had also come. This woman had a delicate and pretty appearance, and her figure was graceful and exquisite. She was delicate, timid, and sickly. She was gasping for breath and dripping with sweat. Her skin was white and translucent, and she looked a little sickly. If people from Earth were here, they would definitely feel that her temperament was very similar to Sister Lin in Dream of the Red Chamber. Lin Hanqing, your daughter is so arrogant and overbearing. She even dares to injure Princess Ing. Now that the Imperial Medical Hall had taken a look, Princess Ing only had 3 years left to live. She was in a precarious state. This woman is vicious and obviously wants to kill. She despises the imperial family. If we don't punish her severely, the dignity of the imperial family will be gone. The Marquis of Purple Robe was tall and strong. He was wearing purple golden armor, and his aura was like a dragon or a tiger. He was angry and pointed at Lin Dyer, who was kneeling on the steps, and shouted. He was a dignified divine transformation realm warrior, and a holy divine transformation realm warrior at that. He was at the peak of the divine transformation realm, and was only a step away from the half-saint realm. The invisible pressure he emitted made everyone's hearts jump, and their souls leave their bodies. Hearing this, Lin Dyer was so scared that her face turned pale. She burst into tears and said in a trembling voice, Marquis, when I fought that day, I was very careful and restrained my true vitality. How could I hurt the princess? I have always regarded Sister Ing as a good sister. How could I hurt or kill her? The Marquis of Azure Wave City was the Lord of Azure Wave City, Li Liudao's father. He shouted loudly, how dare you quibble? I see that you have no intention of repenting. You disregard the imperial family of the Dongfang clan. You deserve to be punished. In my opinion, 100 beatings are not enough. You should just be beaten to death and be punished. As soon as these words came out, Lin Dyer was so scared that she almost fainted. She spoke incoherently and only sobs were left. My daughter was indeed too heavy-handed back then. Little Marquis was also deeply frightened and quickly ordered his family to gather nourishing pills and offer them. Don't worry, second prince, Purple Marquis, don't worry. I will definitely ask for famous doctors and elixirs to cure Princess Ing. Lin Hanqing hurriedly bowed and cupped his fists. When he lowered his head, he hid the anger in his eyes. He knew that Dongfang Ying had this strange illness for a long time. It had broken out several times before. This time, it was just a coincidence and had nothing to do with his daughter. In fact, the second prince Dongfang Li also knew this and had told him in advance. This time, Purple Marquis wanted to weaken the power of Jin Yuan Ho. However, the imperial family of the Dongfang clan was also helpless because Purple Marquis had the support of many holy lands and divine sects in the Saint Origin world. His connections were extremely terrifying and the experts under him were as numerous as the clouds. The general situation was already set. Even Nan He and Fang Jinlong might not be able to suppress him. Therefore, he told Jin Yuan Ho to take the overall situation into consideration and not resist. If they forcefully suppressed him now, it would probably cause Purple Marquis to break out prematurely and cause internal strife, causing a turbulent situation. In short, the imperial family of the Dongfang clan and the various feudal lords were not ready to suppress Purple Marquis. Moreover, everyone further judged that Purple Marquis was not the greatest trump card of this rebel force. There was an even greater backer and mastermind behind him. There could be supporters in the imperial family or the feudal lords. Therefore, the imperial family of the Dongfang clan could not act at this time. Cure? Even Pillmaster, who of the imperial physician hall, said that the princess was seriously injured, and the evil energy had invaded her meridians and dantian. There is no way to cure her. Marquis Shanshui shouted. Don't try to pester me. This Marquis has already discussed with His Highness the Second Prince. We will give 10,000 miles of Xinji forest to the imperial family. Purple Marquis, and I will temporarily manage it. Your daughter has deceived the imperial family. She will be caned 100 times. Whether she can live or not will depend on her luck. Lin Hanqing's face turned pale when he heard this. His body trembled as he said, Second Prince, are you serious? Second Prince Dongfang Li gripped the armrest of his chair until his knuckles turned white. He smiled with difficulty. Jin Yuan Marquis, for the sake of the big picture, you should agree. 10,000 miles of land is half of my ancestral fief. Second Prince, are you really going to allow it to be taken away? Lin Hanqing's eyes exploded with cold light as he suppressed the anger that was about to erupt. Your imperial family has plans and schemes, fine. But why should my family and my daughter make such a huge sacrifice? The key point is that I have to bear the infamy of being unloyal and unrighteous. Sometimes, even he thought about it the wrong way. The imperial family was poor and weak, unable to even maintain basic fairness and morality. What was the point of the imperial family's existence? What emperor wants his subjects to die, so his subjects have no choice but to die? These were all clichés and nonsense. Think about it. The Lin family had worked for the imperial family of the Dongfang clan for several generations, protecting their territory. But in the end, his daughter was going to be caned to death for no reason? If the emperor is heartless, his subjects will be unrighteous. At worst, I'll rebel too. Chapter 1843. Purple Marquis, Jin Yuan Marquis's bloodline, has contributed greatly to the defense of the land, whether it is slaying demons, suppressing bandits, or resisting the Black Moon Empire in the south. You have always been at the forefront, truly a loyal subject of the empire. The second prince's heart was filled with humiliation and sorrow, forcing a smile. Even if Lin Dai, or injured the princess, her feelings are pitiful. I beg you once. Can you not cede land as compensation? He was even somewhat submissive. Purple Marquis had recruited soldiers and taken over a giant fortress, full of ambition, and could raise the flag of rebellion at any time under the pretext of righteousness. Now he had to feign civility, not daring to shed all pretense of cordiality. Take Dongfang Ying's injury as an example. If he did not punish the Lin family today, then in the future, Purple Marquis's experts will challenge the imperial family in the name of competition. If he refused the challenge, then the imperial family's face would be swept to the ground, weak and easily bullied, becoming a fat sheep that could be bitten by anyone. If he accepted the challenge, then Purple Marquis's minions would definitely seriously injure him, or even kill him. But at this time, if he pursued responsibility, he would use the Lin family's Lin die, or to seriously injure the princess but was not punished. With the words, "The imperial family is unfair," the emperor forces his subjects to rebel. He could openly raise his troops, wave the flag of rebellion, and directly attack the root of the problem. He could even gain the support of cultivators and common people who did not know the truth, and put the imperial family in an unjust position. It could be said that Purple Marquis and Shanshui Marquis's rebellion today seemed to be for Jinyuan Marquis's fief, but it was far from that simple. If the imperial family wanted to protect Jinyuan Marquis, then it was the same as helping Purple Marquis establish a new set of rules, which was exactly what he wanted. Under this new set of rules, strength was above all, the strong were respected, and the imperial family had to bow to strength. It did not matter if the Marquis injured or killed the imperial family, but the dignity of the imperial family would gradually be eroded and eventually destroyed. But if the imperial family did not protect Jinyuan Marquis, then it would naturally make the Marquis bitterly disappointed in the imperial family. Purple Marquis could still weaken the imperial family's dignity by holding the emperor and ordering the Marquis around. What made the second prince most sullen was that he clearly understood all this, but he could do nothing. No matter how he dealt with it, Purple Marquis had the upper hand in benefits. Yes, Purple Marquis, I don't believe that Dai or sister deliberately hurt me. It's just that my cultivation is inferior. The sickly Princess Ying of the East spoke. Moreover, my cold illness does indeed break out once every 10 years. This time, it's been 10 years since the last time. I think it's just a relapse of her old illness. It has nothing to do with Sister Dai. Please don't make things difficult for her. Her words were sincere. Her voice was intermittent, and she was panting. It was obvious that she was short of breath, but her attitude was very sincere. The corners of her eyes were filled with tears, as if she was about to cry. These words made the nobles and ministers in the Purple Marquis camp feel somewhat guilty and ashamed in their hearts. However, the struggle for power in the imperial court was just that cruel. Following the imperial family, or resisting the Purple Marquis, was a road to death. Thus no one dared to say anything. This Marquis will give your highness face. If he didn't want to cede land, that was fine too. Beat this woman to death. Purple Marquis turned a deaf ear to Dongfang Ying's pleas, enjoying the pleasure of controlling the life and death of others, and laughed sinisterly. This was also something he was extremely willing to do. Didn't you, Jinyuan Ho, claim to be good at fighting and defending the land, and a good general and important minister of the country? If you can't even protect your own daughter, let's see who will support you in the future. What right do you have to protect the imperial family? A Lin family without supporters is not even worth a fart. Father, I don't want to die. As soon as these words came out, Lin Dai was so frightened that she wailed, tears falling like rain. Purple Marquis, you are aggressive. You are going too far. Today, I want to ask you, is this your world or the Dongfang family's world? The second prince and her highness both said that this matter has nothing to do with my daughter. Lin Hanqing was so angry that he stomped his feet. What do you mean by going too far? What do you mean by aggressive? Purple Marquis was unmoved and sneered. This Marquis is doing this to protect the dignity of the imperial family and the supreme authority. As long as it is beneficial to the country, as long as it can help the Dongfang family, this Marquis is not afraid of being crushed to pieces, and is not afraid of you slandering me, or even being pointed at by the world. Seeing that Dongfang Li was not speaking up for him, Lin Hanqing's heart was filled with sorrow. He could only grit his teeth and say, "Fine, fine, 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 fine." Then he looked at his daughter with a sad face and said, 100 beatings if anyone dares to beat me more. As long as I, Lin Hanqing, am still alive, I will kill him. Daughter, you have to hold on. Zhang Muyun, save me, protect me and escape. Go directly to the 9 Mysteries sect. There, they won't dare to kill me. Lin Dai was in a panic and despair, trembling, looking at Zhang Muyun outside the door and shouting loudly. This staff was not ordinary, but the imperial family's magic weapon, Strong Thunder Divine Staff, which contained a huge amount of magic power and attracted the strong thunder of the 9 heavens. With one strike, a Foundation establishment cultivator would be beaten to a pulp, and their soul would scatter. Even a golden core cultivator would not be able to withstand more than 10 strikes. Zhang Muyin did not dare to move at all. His face was red, and he lowered his head in shame, avoiding his daughter's pleading eyes. There were powerful cultivators from the Imperial Palace, and also divine transformation cultivators from Jianghan City. Not to mention him. Even if his father and Lin Hanqing attacked together, they would not be able to kill their way out. They would probably be killed in a few seconds. Just as the Marquis of Purple Robe was about to attack with the strong Thunder Divine Staff, Lin Dai fell to the ground in despair and helplessness, and Lin Hanqing looked up to the sky and sighed. It's easy to give up land, and it's easy to kill Lin Dai, but it's not so easy to save the princess's life. In my opinion, she doesn't need 3 years, only 3 months, and she will die suddenly. An untimely voice came. Who's talking nonsense? How dare you curse Princess Dongfang? Everyone looked at the door. The Marquis of Shanshui was even more furious. He jumped 3 feet high, pointed at the door and shouted angrily. This person deceiving the emperor must be beaten to death. Marquis Zhenyuan in your Lin family, even a servant dares to curse Her Highness, and everyone disregards the dignity of the imperial family. I suspect that this is all instigated by you. You have the heart of disobedience, and you should kill all 9 generations, not leaving a chicken or a dog. Seeing Jiang Tian come in, Lin Dai was so angry that her face turned pale. She shouted angrily. Why are you talking nonsense? Do you know that you will consign the entire Lin family to eternal damnation? Even Lin Hanqing was shocked. He hurriedly winked at Jiang Tian and said, You don't know much about medicine. Even the Imperial Medical Hall can't do anything about the princess's strange illness. How can you talk nonsense about the princess's illness? Leave quickly. If you want to die, don't drag us down with you. Originally, it was just a matter of flogging Lin Dai. But now, I'm afraid that all 9 generations of her family will be killed. Is this a place where you can come to? Zhang Muyun and the other guards looked at Jiang Tian, as if they were looking at a madman. They wanted to cry but had no tears. Before it was only Lin Dai's matter, but now that Jiang Tian had stirred it up, it was the matter of the entire Lin family. A guard and a servant dared to curse the princess. Not to mention the Marquis of Purple Robe. Even Dongfang Li would not be able to bear it. He would probably start a massacre and exterminate the Lin family. Even Guo Chuandong was so scared that his legs trembled. If he had known, he would not have followed Jiang Tian to join the Lin family. If a war broke out, would he be able to escape? He did not dare to imagine what kind of bloody and cruel situation would follow. Chapter 1844. You can beat me to death. But if you want to save the princess's life, no one can. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Jiang Tian, accompanied by Lin Yang, walked in lazily. His face was calm and relaxed. Even when facing Purple Marquis and the second prince, he was not weaker. Seeing that Jiang Tian turned a deaf ear to his persuasion, Lin Hanqing was depressed and anxious. He closed his eyes in despair, knowing that things were bad. Who is this person? From what he said, it seems that he can save my sister. Dongfang Li's face was originally full of anger, but when he heard this, his eyes lit up as if he saw a glimmer of hope. Reporting to the second prince, this person is the head of our master group, Siqing Sanren. He once defeated Zhang Muyin with one palm, and may be a divine nascent soul stage nascent soul. Lin Hanqing did not dare to speak, but Lin Yang said loudly. In order to prevent Jiang Tian from being looked down upon, he deliberately raised Jiang Tian's status. Fellow Taoist Siqing just said that he is proficient in medicine and alchemy, and has a way to cure the princess. Is that true? Dongfang Li was ecstatic. Even as the second prince and a soul formation stage cultivator, he could not help but be excited. The reason why Purple Marquis could stir up trouble and be so aggressive, putting Zhenyuan Marquis and himself in a dilemma, was it not because of the princess's strange illness? If he could cure her, everything would naturally be solved, and Purple Marquis would have no reason to make trouble. Besides, he was like Lin Yang, a crazy protector of his sister. As long as he could save his sister, he would not hesitate to give up his supreme power and power. Siqing Sanren? So it's him. Marquis Shanshui was so angry that he almost jumped up and bowed. Reporting to the second prince, I know this person. He is an itinerant cultivator from the Black Sun Space Zone. A ruffian from a remote place. His cultivation is weak, and he has no knowledge at all. He is nothing but a swindler. How can he be capable of curing the princess? You know him? The second prince turned his head and asked with interest. Although I haven't seen him with my own eyes, I would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. The Marquis of Shanshui's expression darkened as he said furiously. A month ago, the vice-sect master of Vast Sky Sect, Lei Qianjun, led a large group of cultivators to Greenwave City to kill my son, Li Ludao. Without saying a word, he destroyed my son's Dantian and meridians, causing him to lose his cultivation. I was furious, so I went to Haotian Sect to seek justice. As it turned out, Lei Qianjun had believed this brat's slanderous words, saying that Li Ludao had murdered Chen Xiong, Blood Monk, and several other Heavenly Sect Outer Court elders on the Bamboo Horse planet. This is simply outrageous. My son wasn't even on Juma's star that day. When Lin Yong heard this, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Li Ludao only condensed his golden core 3 years earlier than me. Yet he repeatedly mocked me for being trash. Who would have thought that his Dantian would be destroyed? It was likely that he would not be able to cultivate in the future. If I'm a loser, then what is he? Trash among trash. Oh, I didn't expect that Marquis Li would suffer such an unexpected misfortune. The Haotian sect is really brainless. Marquis Li was only in the Golden Core realm. How could he have the ability to kill Chen Xiong and Blood Monk? It was like an ant trying to shake a tree. This is so unfair, so unfair. Didn't you fight with the Haotian sect? Although Lin Hanqing's face was full of regret, he was overjoyed in his heart. After all, the Marquis of Shanshui had threatened to kill his daughter, saying that she would be punished severely by being beaten to death. Your son is your son, but my daughter is not made of mud or picked up. Lin Yang, you're gloating. Hearing this, the Marquis of Shanshui flew into a rage. He cursed in his heart. Damn it, you're touching my sore spot. I do want to fight with the Haotian sect, but their sect master is much more powerful than Lei Qianjun, and they have several semi-god realm cultivators. Can I defeat them? He glared and roared. Okay, I understand now. This Siqing cultivator was set up by you. You wanted to harm my son, didn't you? Today, I will take my revenge. I will tear Siqing into pieces and report you and your son to the emperor. Marquis of Shanshui, I'm innocent, Jiang Tian said with a smile. This is my first time in the Saint Origin world. How could I know Lin Yang and the others? This is all a misunderstanding. I did hear that person call himself Marquis Li Ludao. Chen Xiong and Blood Monk also called him Marquis Li Ludao. Therefore, when Lei Qianjun and the others from the Haotian sect asked about it, I told them the truth. Maybe someone pretended to be Marquis Li Ludao. But even Chen Xiong and the others who were close to him didn't recognize him. How could you blame me? After all, I came from a remote place. My magic power is weak, and my vision is shallow. With just a few words, he cleared himself of all responsibility. You're innocent? Someone pretended to be you? You can't be blamed. Marquis of Shanshui was so angry that his face turned red. He was tongue-tied and incoherent. In the end he roared, bullshit. You must have purposely tried to frame me. I will definitely kill you. As he spoke, he unleashed his aura and charged at Jiang Tian. How dare you? Suddenly, the second prince hit Marquis of Shanshui with his palm and said coldly, Siqing Cultivator wants to cure the princess, but you want to kill her. Do you want to kill the princess? I don't dare. Marquis of Shanshui got up and hurriedly bowed. He gritted his teeth and stared at Jiang Tian. Chapter 1845. In fact, the Dongfang siblings had such a reaction because of the current situation. At this time, the Eastern Empire was a bit like the ancient Wuxia warring states period. Although the royal family still existed, it had long been poor and weak. It only maintained the name of the world's ruler, but did not have the ability to control. The major vassal states had already begun to merge and compete with each other. The imperial power was simply unable to command the world and control the vassals. Therefore, when Zhang Muyan was about to attack Jiang Tian, and Fang Guoyu stopped him, Zhang Muyan said, "He only has a family and no country." After all, his salary came from the Lin family, and had nothing to do with the Eastern Empire. Naturally, he did not care about the Fang family. The Dongfang royal family was despised by the major vassals. Today, when the siblings heard Jiang Tian's cliché today, it was very pleasing to the ear, as if they were listening to heavenly music. Then in your opinion, what illness does the princess have? Dongfang Li asked curiously. Actually, the princess is not sick. When Jiang Tian said this, Dongfang Li's face suddenly stiffened, and he wished he could kick Jiang Tian away. But after all, he had to maintain the dignity of the royal family. He reminded himself to calm down. Even if this kid was talking nonsense, he had to let him finish. The Lin family was also dumbfounded. Lin Dyer gritted her teeth and said, "Humph. I knew you wouldn't understand. You're trying to please the crowd with claptrap. You're so arrogant." But the Marquis of Shanshui could not stand it. He jumped up and roared, "You dare to tease the second prince, you're courting death." Jiang Tian smiled leisurely. "Your Highness, I'm diagnosing the princess, but this kid keeps jumping up and down, making me confused. How am I going to treat her now?" When Dongfang Li heard that Jiang Tian had not finished speaking, he immediately flung his sleeve and said with a dark face, "Marquis of Shanshui, stand down. Your Majesty, this kid is misleading the public with his lies. He should be executed." "Stand down. Do you really think the dignity of the royal family is easy to bully?" Dongfang Li was very angry. "It doesn't matter if you hide evil intentions, bully Zhen Yu and Ho, or punish Lin Dai, but now it concerns the life and death of my sister. And you dare to come out and disturb." The Marquis of Shanshui could only swallow his anger and retreat obediently. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He was just a lackey of the Marquis of Purple Robe. He dared to bully the Marquis of Zhenyuan's Lin clan, but that did not mean that he dared to contradict the second prince and offend the imperial family. After all, a centipede dies but never falls down. If the Eastern imperial family wanted to crush him, the Marquis of Shanshui, it would not be a problem. Jiang Tian smiled lightly and said, "Your Highness, may this humble one be so bold as to ask, on the day your Highness was born, did 9 dogs swallow the sun?" When Dongfang Li heard this, his expression changed drastically, as if he had seen a ghost. The so-called 9 dogs devouring the sun was actually a total of 9 continents and planets that covered the stars of this region, forming a solar eclipse phenomenon that caused continuous days of darkness. There was even demonic chi that emerged from the earth and the sky, and demonic creatures appeared. This kind of celestial phenomenon was extremely rare. Regardless of whether it was in the mortal world or the world of cultivation, it had always been regarded as an omen of great calamity. Because of this, when Dongfang was born, the imperial concubine spent a lot of money to bribe the imperial medical hall. They did not immediately report it to the king, but waited until after the solar eclipse ended. Even the history books recorded it as such. This secret, even the king did not know. Not only your Highness, but when your Highness's mother was born, it should also be 9 stars in the sky, and the heavenly dog devouring the sun. The 9 generations of women, on the day of birth, all had the heavenly dog devouring the sun. In this way, after 9 generations, the chi of yang was missing. By the 9th generation, they would have the 9ing body. When Jiang Tian said 9ing body, he could not help but sigh. Because of this problem, it had troubled the Saint Origin world for hundreds of years. The children born on this day were all declared to be trash, unable to cultivate. But in fact, the 9ing body was not a trash body, but an extremely powerful quasi-immortal body, at least surpassing the saint body. If one cultivated a suitable cultivation method, they could cultivate to the void return realm, be called a saint, or even reach the Tao fusing realm. However, due to the low cultivation civilization, it was not until hundreds of years later, when the 9 great immortal sects, whose cultivation civilization was even more prosperous, arrived in the Saint Origin world that this situation changed. At that time, the 9ing body was known as the seed of a saint, and almost all the major sects worshipped them as the Golden Boy and Jade Girl. They would even be brought to the 9 great immortal sects, like a fish leaping through the dragon gate, ascending to the sky and becoming a true dragon of the 9 heavens. However, Dongfanging had already turned into a pile of yellow soil and a few withered bones. 9 body. The marquises and ministers in the hall whispered. Obviously, they had never heard of this term before. However, seeing how Jiang Tian described it so vividly, they were still skeptical. After a long time, Dongfangli came back to his senses. At this moment he was simply worshipping Jiang Tian like a god, worshipping him to the extreme. He could see through his sister's rare body at a glance. This was simply a godlike existence. Just as he was about to ask, the Marquis of Shanshui, who was quickly flipping through the history jade slip, suddenly jumped up and shouted, "Your Highness, this kid is full of nonsense." When Her Highness was born, the 9 dogs swallowing the sun ended. The historian also said that Her Highness was blessed by the heavens and chased away the heavenly dog. Isn't he slandering Her Highness by talking nonsense like this? He should be killed. His entire family should be executed. Shut up. Do you still want me to slap your mouth? Dongfangli was completely enraged. The Marquis of Shanshui was stunned and repeatedly said yes. Dongfangli looked at Jiang Tian and smiled. Fellow Daoist Siqing, can my sister's 9 body be cured? Jiang Tian did not immediately answer, but lazily yawned and said with a smile, "This body is very complicated and difficult to reconcile. I was thinking of a countermeasure, but this guy said that his entire family should be executed, and he said that he should be killed for his crime, scaring my thoughts. For a moment it's hard to think." As he spoke, he walked in front of the Marquis of Shanshui and scolded righteously. "You brat, jump up and down, only thinking of killing me to avenge your useless son. Have you really considered the princess's illness? Treating the princess's illness, such a sacred and important matter. What is it in your eyes? How did it become a tool to suppress political opponents and bully the good? Marquis of Shanshui, I Jiang Siqing, am only a rogue cultivator without any roots, not worth mentioning. You keep saying that you want to kill me, that's fine. But who will treat the princess's illness? Could it be that you, a so-called loyal official, want Her Highness to weep and Her Highness to die here? I definitely don't mean that. You're slandering me." The Marquis of Shanshui looked at the surrounding ministers that he had a good relationship with, but found that they very consciously took a few steps back, very cleverly keeping a distance from him. For a moment, the Marquis of Shanshui felt a chill all over his body. He sadly found that none of his colleagues and best friends dared to speak up for him, as if he was isolated by the entire world. Your cultivation is powerful, you have a noble title, you have a high position and power, then you come out and tell me how the princess's cold illness was caused? Jiang Tian deliberately teased this great enemy of his previous life. Every word was vicious, like an arrow shooting at the Marquis of Shanshui. Your son was crippled by the Haotian sect. Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Go and find them. You don't have the ability, but you're narrow-minded and jealous, so you can only vent your anger on an innocent person like me. You're too useless. Being useless is a small matter, but the point is deceiving the emperor, disloyal and unloyal. It made the Marquis of Shanshui feel as if his heart was pierced by thousands of arrows. He was ashamed and angry at the same time. His qi and blood attacked his heart, and he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Puff! The Marquis of Shanshui vomited blood on the spot. He was angry and anxious, his face was as white as paper, and his whole body was trembling as he said, "Your Highness, I'm not an unloyal official, everything is fate." Seeing this scene, Lin Hanqing only felt one word. Cool. Even if Jiang Tian did not have the ability to cure the princess, he had already won a great victory. From the second prince's expression, it could be seen that the cause of the illness that Jiang Tian said was absolutely true, and based on this, he could get rid of the suspicion of Lin Dyer. Damn it, can't you kill someone without a knife? Brother Jiang is too powerful. Lin Yang could be considered to have opened his eyes. He felt that he was very good at talking, but compared to Jiang Tian, he was willing to admit defeat. However, Jiang Tian wasn't a simple talker. All of this was based on the premise that he accurately judged the cause of the princess's illness, and made the second prince believe in him. In this way he had the advantage, and no one could stop him from reprimanding the Marquis of Shanshui. Chapter 1846. Seeing this, Dongfangli smiled bitterly. "Siqing, enough, the Marquis of Shanshui will not disturb you. Quickly think of a treatment plan." Jiang Tian would not let it go so easily. This Marquis of Shanshui was also an existence that had humiliated him many times in his previous life. He immediately sighed helplessly. "The Marquis of Shanshui's power is too great, suppressing the world, ferocious, easily exterminating 9 clans, truly frightening me to the point that my soul has left my body. My mind is in a mess, it's not very good. Sigh, treating the princess is more important." At this time, the Zhenyuan Marquis Lin Hanqing very cleverly came out to play the supporting role, taking on the responsibility. "Loose Cultivator, please speak. How can you settle down and think of a treatment plan as subjects? The princess's illness is the most important. We will fully support, we will not be careless. Let the Marquis of Shanshui slap himself 3 times. Only then will my soul return to its place, my mind calm, and I will think of a good plan." Jiang Tian sighed leisurely. "Let me slap myself, you a commoner, dare to humiliate me like this. I am a noble marquis." The Marquis of Shanshui crazily shouted. "The Marquis of Shanshui has already let go of your crime of framing his son. Don't be aggressive and bewitching the prince." The Marquis of Purple Robe could not stand it anymore, angrily shouting. His little brother was humiliated by a commoner loose cultivator. If this spread out, the one who would lose face would be him, the Marquis of Purple Robe. "Marquis of Purple Robe, this is your fault." Lin Hanqing, on the other hand, was overjoyed, beginning a wonderful performance, seriously saying, "His Highness is wise and mighty, benevolent and virtuous. How can he order a marquis to slap himself?" He began a crazy counterattack. "So it depends on whether the Marquis of Shanshui is self-conscious, whether he is loyal to the country. If it were me, not to mention 3 slaps, even if it were 30 slaps, I would not hesitate to slap him first. Going to the battlefield to kill the enemy, you are not afraid of being crushed, let alone being slapped? Father, you are absolutely right." Lin Yang had always been a spectator, naturally would not miss the opportunity to beat a drowning dog, immediately jeering. "You often teach me that as subjects, we should respect the royal family and place the country as our top priority. As long as the princess can be cured. So what if this subject kills himself?" He didn't even frown. "You usually brag about yourself, saying that when it comes to loyalty, no one dares to be number 1 if you're ranked 2nd. Now is the time to test your loyalty. You're not even willing to give me 3 slaps, and you're still making excuses. Can you still call yourself an important official?" He wanted to kill and destroy their hearts, pressing forward step by step. "I'll fuck your mother, Lin Hanqing, you son of a bitch. I didn't slap you, so of course you can say that." At this moment, the Marquis of Shanshui was so angry that his nose was crooked, and he cursed wildly in his heart. He felt as if he had just had a nightmare. He couldn't believe it. Originally, he had come here with the Purple Marquis to watch the show and mock the Lin family while they were down, kicking the Lin family while they were down. But now, how did he become the target of public criticism, and even want to slap himself? "I was frightened by the Marquis of Shanshui and my mind was in a mess. I'm afraid I can't do anything about the princess's illness." Jiang Tian's eyes were cold, and he said helplessly. Seeing this scene, Dongfangli was shocked and a little angry in his heart. His face suddenly became gloomy. Has the Dongfang imperial family really declined to such an extent? Are you, the Marquis of Shanshui, so selfish? He's a rogue cultivator from outside the river, and he doesn't want a reward, and is willing to treat the princess. You talk about loyalty and patriotism all day long, but in the end, you're not even willing to slap yourself 3 times. Do you want me to say it myself? Let me become a bully, a harsh and ungrateful subject? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. The Marquis of Shanshui was also very good at reading people's expressions. Seeing this, he knew that Dongfangli was really angry. In a panic, he quickly slapped himself 7 or 8 times, gritting his teeth and laughing. 3 slaps is nothing, as long as he can cure the princess, but if he can't, he. After this round of slaps, his face swelled like a pig's head. Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang were incomparably happy, secretly happy to the extreme. Lin Dyer at the moment had a very dreamy feeling. She couldn't believe it. Just now the Marquis of Shanshui was still saying that he would beat her to death, but in the blink of an eye he slapped himself. And all this reversal happened after the appearance of Jiang Tian, a rogue cultivator from outside the river. In the face of the threat of the Marquis of Shanshui, Jiang Tian also smiled unhurriedly. I let you slap yourself 3 times. Why did you slap so many? Are you dissatisfied with the commoners, or with the 2 highnesses? Forget it, this kind of trivial matter. I won't bother with you. I'll reluctantly forgive you this time. The Marquis of Shanshui was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. In order to show my loyalty, I slapped myself a few more times. Is there anything wrong with that? However, at this point, Jiang Tian was too lazy to be entangled with the Marquis of Shanshui. His face slightly straightened, he said indifferently, "The princess is not sick, but born with a disability. Naturally there is a good solution to be found. The first is to stop cultivating, and disperse the cultivation technique." Jiang Tian's words. Princess Dongfang Ying's face suddenly turned ugly, tears welling up in her eyes. She said bitterly, "Teacher, can't I cultivate? Although I am only a woman, but I also want to cultivate to the nascent soul stage, or even the demigod stage. One day, I will be able to travel thousands of miles with a sword, slay demons, and protect the world." Jiang Tian gave her a deep look. Because when Jiang Tian came to the Eastern Empire in his previous life, Dongfang Ying had already passed away for many years. In terms of the age of a cultivator, she was considered to have died young, and her cultivation technique was low. There was nothing special about her in all aspects, she had no achievements, and there were very few records of her in the history books. Therefore, other than her strange physique, Jiang Tian did not have a deep impression of her. But he did not expect that under this woman's weak appearance, she was quite ambitious, and was not inferior to a man. Dongfang Li hurriedly comforted her. "Silly girl. Is there anything more important than living?" Dongfang Ying lowered her head and did not say anything, but a few drops of tears rolled down her white jade-like cheeks, landing on her clothes like morning dew. At this moment, Jiang Tian was suddenly stunned, his gaze slightly infatuated. He suddenly thought of Zhao Xueqing. Back then, after Zhao Xueqing found out that he could not cultivate at the Banquet of Bliss in Yang City, he was also so sad and desperate, and his tears were also so sparkling. He seemed to have seen another Zhao Xueqing, and his heart couldn't help but heat up. He felt a sense of closeness to this woman, and secretly made up his mind to help her reach the peak of cultivation. Dongfang Li sighed and looked at Jiang Tian. "Sir, what's the next step?" At this moment, he was like a pious primary school student, not ashamed to ask. The Marquis of Shanshui interrupted again. "Humph. To cultivators, being unable to cultivate is even worse than death. What's the value of living? You call this a cure?" When he said that, Dongfang Ying immediately burst into tears. Dongfang Li was so angry that his face turned pale. He slammed the table and said angrily, "Shut up. Are you trying to force my sister to die? Do you still want to slap her?" The Marquis of Shanshui immediately shut his mouth, only caring about Jiang Tian. He did not consider Dongfang Ying's emotions. It was a mistake. When I said to disperse the cultivation technique, it's not that she can't cultivate. Instead, she will start from the beginning with a suitable cultivation technique, and supplement it with special pills. I dare to guarantee that within 3 months, she will be able to ascend to the Aurus core stage. Within 3 years, she will be able to break through to the nascent soul stage. Jiang Tian regained his senses, and said with a smile that was not a smile. When these words came out, it shocked everyone. The entire hall was deathly silent, and even a pin drop could be heard. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in astonishment, as if they were looking at a freak. Chapter 1847. What? I only need 3 months to reach the peak stage of the golden core level and 3 years to reach the nascent soul level? Dongfang Li couldn't believe it. How can you joke in front of His Highness? Marquis Purple Robe and Marquis Shanshui felt like they were listening to a heavenly book. Even Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang were shocked. Yes, can I really cultivate again? Princess Dongfang Ying was also skeptical. She was extremely excited, and her face was filled with both worry and joy. Although the divine origin world was at the edge of the central galaxy, it was still part of the central galaxy. It was located at the core of the universe, and its spirit chi was 100 times denser than the planets outside of the galaxy. The Dharma laws were dense and prominent, which made it easier for cultivators to understand. Therefore, whether it was absorbing the spirit chi of heaven and earth at the chi refinement, foundation establishment, or golden core stage, or comprehending the Dharma and controlling the great Tao at the nascent soul or soul formation stage, they had more advantages than the cultivators outside the galaxy. Their cultivation speed was more than 10 times faster. Even so, it would take at least 100 years to form a golden core. Those who could form a golden core in 20 years could be called geniuses. That was why Feng Guoyu was so happy when Jiang Tian was tested to have a golden core level at 20 years old. Just as Jiang Tian said, it was almost impossible to form a golden core in a few months and reach the nascent soul level in 3 years. When did I joke? If I can't do it, His Highness can send me to prison. Jiang Tian said casually. Dongfengli looked at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, Mister, don't say such things. I'm enlightened after hearing what you said. My sister will be staying at the Marquesian Yuan mansion, and you'll be in charge of her cultivation. I'll give you whatever you want as long as it's within my power. Also, I'll give you a royal jade token. With this token, you can enter and leave the palace freely and take whatever you want from the royal businesses. You don't have to kneel when you see the emperor. Thank you, Your Highness. Jiang Tian was slightly impressed. Dongfengli was quite a shrewd person. Saying that he was going to give something away, he was really lowering himself. Every time he made a promise, he would emphasize that it was within the scope of his abilities, leaving room for leeway, and he had a clear sense of propriety. This alone made him surpass many members of the royal family and the noble families. Unfortunately, he was still no match for Crown Prince Dongfengding. He remembered that his previous life was also very miserable. He was defeated in the struggle for imperial power and died. Thank you for your trust, Your Highness. Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang were overjoyed. The princess's body was priceless. Her temporary residence in the Jinyuan Marquis residence was a sign of her incomparable trust and approval. This is actually. However, the Marquis of Shanshui was extremely envious and hateful. A jade medallion carved with a dragon. This treatment far exceeded that of the dukes and marquises. None of them could enjoy it. As for the purple marquis, his face was as if he had lost his parents, and he wished he could find a hole to crawl into. From the beginning to the end, the second prince had never slapped him in the face, but treating Jiang Tian and Jin Yuanhou so generously was worse than slapping him. He also thought that if Jiang Tian could really cure Princess Dongfeng, he would even become the favorite of the emperor in the future. Even Jin Yuanhou would have to bask in his glory. It would not be easy for him to encroach on Jin Yuanhou's territory. Dongfengli quickly stood up and scanned the crowd. He said in a cold voice, After leaving this place, no one can say a word about what happened today. Otherwise, you will be my second prince's enemy. I will immediately return to the palace and explain this matter to my father. His mother had colluded with the Imperial Medical Hall to conceal and tamper with Dongfengying's true birthday. This was the crime of deceiving the emperor. He must personally explain this to his father and obtain his forgiveness. If it was passed to his father through the mouths of his political enemies, then the nature of the matter would be completely different. A great crime of beheading. This subject will follow the second prince's orders. Many officials hurriedly bowed in agreement. Dongfengli took Lin Hanqing's hand and smiled. Jin Yuanhou, there is no need to send me off. I am very touched by your loyalty and righteousness. There you have been wronged. He didn't say anything more. Everything was conveyed in silence. Soon Dongfengli and the other ministers left with their guards. When the purple marquis came, he was arrogant, but when he left he was covered in dirt and was battered and exhausted. Especially the Marquis of Shanshui, who was even more miserable. His face was swollen like a pig's head. Although he could recover immediately with pills, the humiliation was something he would remember for a long time. After sending Dongfengli off, Dongfengying was dragged by Lin Dai, to arrange a place to stay. Back in the hall, Lin Yang wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and laughed. You really scared me to death. Father, I was right. Siqing is definitely a genius. If it wasn't for her, our family would be finished. Lin Hanqing shook his head and smiled bitterly. Loose Cultivator, you are so happy to take on everything. But can you really cure the princess? If you mess it up, forget it, forget it. Even if you mess it up, it is better than being punished today. We will bear this great disaster together. Jiang Tian was indifferent and smiled calmly. I have confidence in the princess's illness. Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life. The medical books he had read were as vast as the sea. There were many physiques and methods that he did not know. As for the Nine physique, he had at least 10 ways to treat it. After all, the Nine physique had troubled the cultivators of the Saint Origin continent for tens of thousands of years. The predecessors had studied it deeply, and there were many almighty methods. Sun Moon Divine Pill. It was a divine pill that seized the fortune of heaven and earth, reversing the positive and negative, and balancing yin and yang. All things carried yin and embraced yang. In other words, all things had yin and yang. The power of yin and yang was the power of maintenance. It could be transformed and changed, and it would never stop moving and transforming. The Nine physique was the physique that carried the most yin qi. In fact, there was an innate talent to transform yin qi into yang qi. It was just that this talent was not stimulated. And this pill was like a catalyst, transforming the vast 9 yin qi into 9 yang qi. It was like the Tai Chi, operating without shame and changing in thousands of ways. One yin and one yang was the Tao. In other words, if one had the yin-yang physique, they would have the foundation to infinitely approach, understand and control the Tao, and have the resources to reach the spirit-severing stage. 9 yin and 9 yang were the extremes of the Tao. Reaching the spirit-severing stage was naturally not a problem. Therefore, the 9 yin physique could be said to have surpassed the ordinary saint physique, infinitely close to the immortal physique. If the conditions were met, there was the possibility of becoming an immortal. You really have a way? Lin Hanqing couldn't believe it. He originally thought that Jiang Tian was just stalling. He didn't expect it to really work. Seeing Jiang Tian nod and confirm it again, Lin Hanqing slapped his thigh and said with a smile, Wanderer, if you can cure the princess, then you are the savior of the Jinyuan Ho. Little Ho, I will promote you to the head of the consecrated regiment and deputy city lord. I will treat you as an equal and call you brother. Father, this is not appropriate, right? He and I were originally brothers. If you do this, he will become my uncle. Won't I be at a disadvantage? Beside him, Lin Yang suddenly had a bitter face. Chapter 1848. Let's talk on our own. Jiang Tian smiled mischievously. I call Marquis Big Brother, you call me Big Brother. What do you mean by on our own? I won't do it. Lin Yang's face was full of humiliation. At this time, Fang Goyu flew over with a half-step soul formation elder and several peak nascent soul cultivators. She hurriedly asked, Uncle, what's the situation? Did Marquis Shanxue and Marquis Purple Robe make a move? It turned out that she knew that Marquis Purple Robe was here to cause trouble and might explode, so she immediately rushed to Duke Nan's Golden Sand City to get reinforcements. She rushed back in a hurry, but did not see Marquis Purple Robe and the others. Made a move? That's just a slap to the face. You don't know how exciting it was. Lin Yang smiled and told him the whole story. Phew. Fang Guyu finally let out a sigh of relief. She looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes and said with admiration, Sir, you really turned the sky upside down today. You can be said to be the pillar of the Jinyuan Marquis residence. Lin Hanqing had the same idea. He smiled and said, Little you, you're right. I have an idea. Immediately promote fellow cultivator Jiang to the head of the master group. By the way, how long can the generals you brought stay here and stabilize the situation? He had always suspected that Zhang Linfeng was Marquis Purple Robe's spy, but there was no reason to replace him. But now Jiang Tian had saved the entire Lin family. Who could replace him? He had to respect Zhang Linfeng. Even if it was the opposite, he did not have many supporters. Besides, Dongfeng Li also left a soul formation cultivator from the imperial palace to protect Dongfeng Ying. At this time, no one dared to act recklessly. Are you afraid that the Zhang father and son will betray you? Fang Gouyu said with a faint smile. The men I brought can stay here for at least 3 months. 3 months? That's enough. Lin Hanqing smiled. By then the princess' illness should be cured. My Lin family's achievements are unparalleled. Who dares to touch me? Soon the news was announced. Jiang Tian had only been in the Lin family for 3 months, but he had become the head of the master group and the #1 guest, commanding hundreds of masters. He also gifted Jiang Tian a small courtyard with 3 entrances and 3 exits, as well as more than 10 servants. This small courtyard was located on the left side of the Lord's mansion. It turned out to be one of the Lin family's Taoist temples, called the Wind and Moon Temple. There were 3 medium-sized divine energy gathering formations. In the mist-like spiritual qi, the exquisite temple looked like a celestial palace. It was very expensive and could help one's cultivation improve quickly. Zhang Linfeng, who could only serve as Jiang Tian's assistant, was livid at this decision. Zhang Muyin was burning with jealousy, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Jiang Tian and the Lin family were the only hope to cure the princess. The second prince valued them very much and must have sent people to protect them in secret. If there were any unusual movements, they would be suppressed. No one dared to cause trouble. That night, Jing Yu and Ho held a celebratory banquet for Jiang Tian. The guests and host enjoyed themselves to the fullest. After the banquet, Lin Yang pulled Fang Gouyu to the back garden and asked, "Such a big thing happened in the Lin family, why didn't uncle come?" He was asking about Fang Gouyu's father, Fang Jinlong. The Fang family and the Lin family had been friends for generations. Fang Jinlong and Lin Yang had fought side by side, and had always supported and helped the Lin family. "Sigh. My father doesn't want to see you at all," Fang Gouyu said with a bitter face. "You've only just reached the Aurus core stage and haven't improved in 10 years. How can you stand out in the Hidden Dragon trials? He told me that if you can't pass the test of the Hidden Dragon trials, then there's no chance of our marriage happening." Hidden Dragon trials? Lin Yang's face was bitter. In the Eastern Kingdom, Lin Yang was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But in a competition among his peers, this guy was only at the early Aurus core stage, and was at the bottom of the pack. The Eastern Kingdom had 108 dukes, but these dukes were not static. In the Hidden Dragon trials held once every 20 years, all the dukes and their descendants would gather in the imperial city, and accept the royal family's strict test for their heirs. Only by passing the Hidden Dragon trials could the heirs inherit their dukedom, and continue to control their dukedom. If they failed the test, they would have to hand over their dukedom, be stripped of their land, and be stripped of their title, becoming an idle aristocratic family. Once they became an idle aristocratic family, it was very likely that the monkeys would scatter when the tree fell. The division of power and the loss of talent were unavoidable. After all, losing the dukedom was equivalent to losing the rewards and various sources of income. No idle aristocratic family could afford to raise a large number of strong people just by relying on their own resources. Moreover, the kingdom did not allow idle aristocratic families to grow and surpass the dukedom's power. The Hidden Dragon trials lasted for a very long time, a full 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, if they passed the trials, the inheritance ceremony would be held in the capital. This meant that in the next 20 years, they could continue to keep their dukedom and control their territory. 20 years later, they would have to send out talents of the younger generation to participate in the new Hidden Dragon trials. The purpose of the Hidden Dragon trials was to allow the dukes to maintain the prosperity of each generation, and not be complacent. If you couldn't do it, you had to give up your dukedom. This was the law of survival in this world. Simple, direct, barbaric, and violent. But it was also a way for the Eastern royal family to avoid excessive merger and concentration among the dukes and threaten the imperial power. For example, if the Purple Marquis disciples were defeated in this Hidden Dragon trials, and had a part of their territory removed, that would be the best outcome. The royal family would be happy to see that happen. We are childhood sweethearts. If you don't marry me, who will you marry? Lin Yang said gloomily. My father wants me to be betrothed to the crown prince, Dong Fangding. Fang Gouyu said bitterly. Crown Prince. Lin Yang's face was full of worry and he sighed. He no longer had his usual domineering and unruly attitude. Dongfang Ding. That was the #1 genius of the kingdom. And he was going to inherit the throne and control the imperial power. It was no wonder that Fang Jinlong chose him as his son-in-law. Fang Jinlong had a good relationship with the Lin family and was willing to help, but that did not mean that he was willing to sacrifice his daughter's happiness for his friendship with the Lin family. Wouldn't it be better to become the crown prince's wife and empress? If Lin Yang failed the trials and lost his territory, wouldn't his daughter be finished? Wanderer once said that even if Dongfang Ying dispelled her cultivation technique, he would still be able to help her return to her peak within 3 months. If he really has this ability, can he help you reach the nascent soul stage before the trials? Suddenly, Fang Goyu said faintly, "Isn't that too heaven-defying? To advance so quickly, it must be an unorthodox path. Her foundation is not stable, and she might even go berserk and explode to death. I don't want to be his lab rat." Lin Yang was shocked and shook his head. "But our marriage," Fang Goyu frowned. "How about this? If he can really help the princess increase her cultivation, then it will prove his ability. At that time, it won't be too late for me to ask him to teach me. Let the princess be the lab rat first, and I hope the experiment will be successful." Lin Yang thought for a while and suddenly smiled. Chapter 1849. The next morning. In the Breeze and Moon Pavilion, Jiang Tian woke up early and saw Lin Dai, waiting outside the window. Today was the day Jiang Tian went to buy medicinal materials. Lin Dai attached great importance to it. Before dawn, she had already packed up and waited for Jiang Tian. After all, if Jiang Tian couldn't cure the princess, Purple Marquis might make trouble for her again. Jiang Tian nodded at her through the window and began to braid his daughter's hair. He was unhurried and leisurely. "Dad, your braid is messy. It's more like a hemp rope. It makes me look like a hedgehog. It's not even as good as Auntie Li's daughter's." When Jiang Tian finally finished, Jiang Beibei looked in the mirror and couldn't help but say gloomily, "Auntie Li was the kitchen maid in this courtyard. She had a 10-year-old girl who was very close to Jiang Beibei. Don't be angry. Dad will do it again." Jiang Tian was flustered. He quickly untied the whip and began to comb and braid again. He was also helpless about this. He had all kinds of cultivation methods at his fingertips. Refining pills, drawing talismans, and making artifacts were all as easy as taking something out of his pocket. However, braiding seemed very simple, but he still couldn't master it after a few years. Every time, he was like Zhu Beiji embroidering, clumsy and unfocused. Seeing this, Lin Dai was a little impatient. She stepped forward and urged, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, that's enough. Let's go. It's already late. If we're late, the good herbs might be snatched away by others." "Nothing is more important than braiding my daughter's hair," Jiang Tian said without looking up. He didn't know when he would be able to reunite with Zhao Xueqing. Although he was full of fighting spirit, he couldn't help but feel depressed. However, every time he saw his daughter, it was like seeing the face of his beloved wife. It made his heart feel soothed and comforted. His daughter was his heart and soul, his intimate little cotton-padded jacket. He could endure endless suffering and humiliation, but his daughter couldn't be wronged in the slightest. Other children should enjoy the warmth and a beautiful childhood. She couldn't miss out on any of it. Lin Dai's beautiful eyebrows wrinkled, feeling displeased. She thought to herself, "This Xiqing wanderer is really arrogant and condescending. Your current position was given to you by the Lin family of the Marquis of Zhenyuan. What, you don't even take your master's words to heart?" He actually flatly refused. However, she still needed Jiang Tian to treat the princess, so she didn't want to offend him. She squeezed out a smile and looked at Jiang Beibei. "Beibei, you're already beautiful enough. You don't have to make up anymore, right? It's not beautiful. Dad, you have to redo it." Jiang Beibei shook her head and said seriously. Lin Dai could not help but feel anger rising in her heart. She raised her hand and pretended to hit her, scolding her harshly. "Stupid girl, how can you be so insensible? Don't you know that Her Royal Highness needs your father to get medicine? Do you believe that I won't beat you up if you continue to pester me? In the future, the children in the residence will never play with you again. Seeing this scene, Jiang Beibei was so scared that her delicate body trembled, her eyes reddened, and her small mouth flattened. She shrank back and said, "No, Dad, I won't make it up, you should go." She felt extremely wronged. In her hometown, her father was the most powerful hero, and no one dared to bully her. The adults all surrounded her and tried to make her happy. Why did everything change when he arrived here? Everyone actually dared to threaten to beat him up. She was actually just confused about this, but what really frightened her was that she was isolated by the children in the residence. After all, she was an outsider with no relatives, no grandmother's care, and no mother's warm embrace. Although her father and Uncle Dahe were very good to her, they often had business to attend to and could not accompany her all day. She was extremely lonely. It was not easy for her to make a few friends, which she exchanged with osmanthus cakes. Jiang Tian leaned over and kissed her forehead, smiling. "It's okay. Aunt Dai was just teasing you. You will have more and more friends." He looked up at Lin Dai and said in a deep voice, "That's enough. What's the point of bullying children?" Jiang Tian was still braiding her hair unhurriedly, and Jiang Beibei looked like she was enjoying it. She said in a sweet voice, "Dad, I've made a lot of progress this time. It's as good as the one my mother made." "Haha, I'm just forcing myself to do it. It's too difficult. When I find your mother one day, I'll let her do it." Jiang Tian laughed. "Will you find my mother?" "Of course." Seeing that Jiang Tian was still unhurried, Lin Dai suddenly became anxious and scolded coldly. "Are you kidding me? Is treating the princess not as important as braiding your daughter's hair and wearing a flower?" She scolded condescendingly. "Do you know that if it weren't for the Lin family, you would just be a rogue cultivator from outside the river, an ant from a remote place? Maybe you would have been bitten by monsters, robbed by bandits, and left in the wilderness. You don't care about treating the princess at all and make excuses. Do you not take me seriously?" Seeing that Jiang Tian was ignoring her, she pointed the gun at Jiang Beibei and scolded. "And you, Jiang Beibei, how old are you now? How can you be so insensible and spoiled? You're really a wild girl with no mother to raise you. Humph, your mother is already dead. You'll never see her again." At this moment, her eyes were extremely vicious. Hearing this, Jiang Beibei burst into tears. She pulled Jiang Tian's clothes and said, "Dad, didn't you say that Mom was not dead and was just taken away? Why would Aunt Dai say that?" Jiang Tian quickly comforted her gently. It took Jiang Beibei a long time to stop crying. Turning around, Jiang Tian was so angry that his face was ashen. He had never been so angry before. He said coldly, "Lin Dai, you think too highly of yourself and too little of me? Your Lin family took me in? Do you think that with my ability, I can't survive in this small saint origin world? You don't know what kind of existence you're talking to." As he spoke, his temperament changed. His whole person seemed to be above all things, looking down on all living beings. This was the true face of the Taichu celestial venerable, the Hongming god. All his previous concessions were only because he was playing the role of Jiang Xiqing. This mortal world was like a game in his eyes. Would you care about the insults and provocations of the NPCs in the game? If you were unhappy, you could just crush them. Jiang Tian's voice seemed to come from the vast ninth heaven. "Previously, I tolerated you all because of the Lin family. Without the Lin family, you are no different from an ant in my eyes. Let's not talk about how I have my own plans to treat the princess. Even if I don't want to do it, so what? What can you do to me?" People were always like this, fearing power but not kindness. Facing the vicious purple marquis, Lin Dai was so scared that she knelt and begged for mercy, trembling and not daring to resist. But facing Jiang Tian, even if she knew that Jiang Tian's treatment of the princess would determine the survival of the Lin family, her subconscious told her that Jiang Tian was a kind person and would not do anything to her. Yet, she dared to criticize him and be arrogant, even if she knew that Jiang Tian's strength could easily suppress her. After all, her strength was still far from Zhang Muyun's. Lin Dai's face stiffened. She did not expect Jiang Tian to be so fierce and domineering, not giving her any face. She took a few deep breaths to suppress her anger and said coldly, "My father thinks highly of you. You've only been here for 3 months, but he promoted you to the head of the honorary legion, the chief guest, and gave you a courtyard. Are you not grateful enough?" Chapter 1850. Your father is your father. Of course I'm grateful. You are you. Why should I be grateful to you? I respect you. Jiang Tian heard this and sneered. If I hadn't intervened yesterday, I'm afraid you would have been beaten half to death. You still want to show off your superiority as a young lady. Leave now. This Breeze and Moon Pavilion is a private property your father gave to me. It doesn't belong to you. Get out. Lin Dai was stunned, only feeling a burst of anger rushing to her heart, making her want to tear the person in front of her to pieces on the spot. Since she was born, she had been doted on by her family and even the people around her. Jin Yuanho's daughter, beautiful beyond compare, had received guidance from a famous teacher and was talented. At a young age, she had condensed a gold core, passed the 9 mysteries sex assessment, and became an inner disciple. Soon she would join the Holy Land, rise to the sky, and laugh at the whole empire. No matter where she went, she was pursued by many men around her. It had been a long time since Lin Dai was so insulted, especially by a man's rejection. She was even more angry. She was so angry that she danced and shouted, "Let me out, I won't accept it. What's so great about you? This was given to you by my father. Without my Lin family, how could you enjoy it? This is too much. You're just a little servant. How dare you betray your master? Don't you know that there is a difference between master and servant?" At this time, Lin Yang and Fang Goyu came over hand in hand. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Lin Yang shouted, "There, shut up. What's going on? You're quarreling with Xiqing." The current Jiang Tian was no longer the little rogue cultivator he used to be. "Sister, he is now the only hope to cure the princess. The Lin family's lives are in his hands. If he leaves, where will you find him? The Lin family will be severely punished by the imperial family, and the Purple Marquis and other nobles will also attack. I'm afraid their vitality will be greatly damaged in minutes." Fang Goyu also changed color and shouted coldly, "Dai you can't be disrespectful to Jiang Tian." Facing Lin Dai who was gnashing her teeth, Jiang Tian only said one word. "Get out." "What did you say?" Lin Dai was stunned again. "I said get lost." The last 3 words were spat out by Jiang Tian using the power of the mantra. Lin Dai felt as if thunder had exploded in her ears. Unable to resist Jiang Tian's coercion, she staggered back a few steps and fell to the ground. Lin Yang bowed deeply and quickly said, "Good brother, don't be angry. She lacked proper upbringing since she was young and offended you. You're a great person who doesn't hold a grudge against her. Please don't get angry." Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his face was pale. Jiang Tian treated people kindly and did not put on airs. Now that he was angered to this extent, it could be seen that his younger sister's behavior just now had gone too far. "Hurry up and take the eldest miss away." Fang Goyu instructed a few attendants to drag Lin Dai away. She didn't feel at ease. She was afraid that she would say something crazy again, so she followed her and berated her. Originally, she hadn't married into the Lin family yet, so she still needed to have a sense of propriety when interacting with her sister-in-law. But now she couldn't care less. She couldn't wait to give her 2 slaps. Jiang Tian glanced at Lin Yang and lazily said, "Don't be afraid, I won't ignore the princess's constitution. I just don't like her. Remember, don't let her appear in front of me in the future." Good. Lin Yang wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and hurriedly agreed. Jiang Tian continued to braid his daughter's hair. At this time, a graceful figure appeared. Dong Fangying walked over gracefully and came to Jiang Tian. She bowed deeply and said, "I heard that Dyer and Sir had some unpleasantness just now. All of this happened because of me. It's all because of my body. I hope that Sir will be magnanimous and not let this affect your relationship with the Lin family. If you're unhappy, you can scold me a few times." "Scold you for what? Ridiculous." Jiang Tian was speechless. This girl was really a good person. With Lin Dai, Er's arrogant personality, coupled with the fact that he didn't praise her, they would definitely dislike each other. Sooner or later, a conflict would erupt. What does it have to do with you? In short, as long as Sir is not angry, I can do anything. Dong Fongying lowered her head and frowned. Her face was full of worry. She sighed, not knowing how to answer. This little sister is so beautiful, so familiar. Jiang Beibei laughed. Sigh. I really can't bear to see your sad face. If I didn't know, I would have thought that my father had died. Jiang Tian directly ridiculed. Logically speaking, Jiang Tian was already guilty of deceiving the monarch. However, Dong Fongying was not angry. Instead, she said seriously, Father is at the early stage of the divine transformation realm. According to his lifespan, he still has 1,000 years. Living in the palace, there are dozens of experts guarding him. He won't die. I'll give it to you. There's something wrong with your head. Jiang Tian shook his head helplessly and said, Braid my daughter's hair. All right. I've learned from the palace maid who combed my hair. It should be better than Sir's. Dong Fongying's sickly pale face revealed a trace of joy, but her smile did not reveal her teeth. She was still so graceful and moving. As she spoke, she hurriedly went forward and got busy. The princess was braiding her daughter's hair. At the side, Lin Yang was dumbfounded. On one hand, he sighed at Dong Fongying's weak and soft personality. On the other hand, he sighed at Jiang Tian's domineering aura. As expected, he's much better than Dad. Jiang Beibei laughed happily. Jiang Tian glanced at Lin Yang and said, Let's go. Let's go to the Imperial Medicine Hall to buy medicinal herbs. The Imperial Medicine Hall was a royal business. It was a branch of the Imperial Medical Hall, and was established 100 years ago. Now, it had branches in all the major cities and spread throughout the empire. Currently, the royal family's control over the entire country was extremely weak. It was only in name. There were even many dukes who refused to pay the annual tribute in the name of natural and man-made disasters. Over time, the royal treasury was empty and could not make ends meet. In order to solve the financial problem, 100 years ago, under the auspices of the second prince, Dongfeng, the Imperial Medical Hall opened branches throughout the country. They were open to the public and earned crystal stones to enrich the treasury. But in fact, the threshold of the Imperial Medical Hall was still very high. The real service was still the nobles or aristocratic families. The members were also extremely arrogant. If the commoners wanted to go in and buy medicine, they would not talk nonsense with you. Although the branches were all over the country, the Imperial Medical Hall, other than the headquarters in the Imperial City, the largest branch was located in the Xianji Forest. They had artificially cultivated spiritual herbs and many heavenly and earthly treasures. They were very popular among the cultivation families. Okay. Lin Yang called for 2 flood horses. The 2 of them rode on and galloped towards the Imperial Medical Hall. The flood horse had the flood dragon bloodline. It was a mutant of the desolate age. It could cross mountains, rivers, and seas. It could travel 100 miles in an instant. It even had a pair of wings and could soar into the sky. Normally, only the rich and powerful families would raise them. Lin Yang's 2 horses were the best of the best. They were incomparably divine steeds. How is it? It's very fast, right? I'll give you one. Lin Yang shook the reins and said smugly. No need. Jiang Tian was disdainful. It was just a rare breed. After all, it was not a divine beast. Did you think that the big black dog did not exist? Soon, they arrived at the Xianji Forest branch of the Imperial Medical Hall. A magnificent hall floated in the air. It was golden and dazzling. Even from afar, one could smell a strong medicinal fragrance. Even with the isolation of the array, the spiritual energy fluctuations were still strong. The 2 of them let go of the reins and got off the flood horses. They walked into the hall. Chapter 1851. When the disciples of the aristocratic family saw Lin Yang, they all revealed mocking expressions and whispered to each other. Do you see that? Isn't that the hedonistic young duke of the Jinyuan family? What? You still want to ride his coattails? Ride his coattails? You're courting death. I heard that he cultivated for dozens of years and just formed his core. Although his sister is a genius, I heard that she injured Princess Dongfang in a competition a month ago. The Purple Marquis will probably make a big fuss and flatten the Lin family. That's because the royal family is merciful and doesn't punish him. But if Lin Yong doesn't improve in 10 years, I'm afraid he will suffer a crushing defeat in the Hidden Dragon trials and be stripped of his title and land. Oh, that's terrible. If his ancestors knew, wouldn't they be so angry that they would jump out of their graves? They knew that Dongfang was seriously ill, and that the Purple Marquis was scheming to weaken the Jinyuan family, but they didn't know that Jiang Tian had already begun to treat Dongfang. Therefore, in their impression, the Lin family was still a declining family. When Lin Yong heard these discussions, he was so angry that his nose became crooked. He shouted, "If you keep talking, I'll blow your eyes out." Everyone hurriedly shut their mouths in fear, but they were still suppressing their laughter. It was obvious that they weren't afraid of him, because these people were also disciples of aristocratic families in the surrounding Jadewave City and Jianghan City. With the Marquis of Shanshui and the Purple Marquis as their backing, they weren't afraid of Lin Yong. Lin Yong was a young duke after all. Seeing his arrival, a shop assistant came up and said with a smile, "Young duke is here. Welcome, welcome." Jiang Tian took out a list and handed it over, saying, "Follow the list." The shop assistant took the list and looked at it from top to bottom. However, when he saw the last ingredient, he shook his head, saying, "Dragonbone 9 Suns Grass? 6th level spirit grade and above. Sir, are you sure you need this medicine?" "Of course, follow the list," Jiang Tian said indifferently. "But this medicine?" The shop assistant looked troubled and hesitant. "What? Too low grade? Or you don't have it here? You can change it to extreme flame fruit." The shop assistant was shocked. He squeezed out a smile and said, "That's right. Sir, what is the extreme flame fruit? I've never even heard of it." The Dragonone 9 Suns grass was an item of extreme yang energy. It was extremely rare, and was one of the spirit herbs of the shop. "I only have one stalk in stock right now. It's very precious, and its selling price. I'll buy it at any price." Jiang Tian had an expression that said, "I don't lack money." The engraved dragon jade pendant given by the second prince was not only a proof of royal authority, but also a storage card that stored a terrifying amount of crystals. The Imperial Medicine Hall was founded by the second prince himself. Jiang Tian had the jade tablet, which was equivalent to the boss buying things from his store. Did he lack money? Hee, it's not about money. The shop assistant had a troubled look on his face. Suddenly, another group of people rushed out. The person in the lead was dressed in brocade, and looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. He had a handsome face and a tall and straight figure. "Because the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass was left for me. I, little Marquis, want to use this to break through to the nascent soul stage. Get out of my way and don't delay my transaction. Otherwise, none of you will be able to bear the consequences." This person's tone was arrogant and looked down on everyone. He didn't even look at Lin Yong, let alone Jiang Tian. Quick, ask Elder Lan, who's in charge today, to come out." The shop assistant had a troubled look on his face as he hurriedly called out to his companions. Why was this man here today? This young man's background was extremely terrifying. He was the only son of Duke Bai Xianlin of the northern frontier, who was on par with Duke Feng Jinlong of the southern frontier. His name was Bai Zhanyun. Most importantly, he was also one of the top geniuses of the empire. He reached the foundation establishment stage at 8, and the golden core stage at 13. Now he was only one step away from the nascent soul stage. Even Fang Goyu and Lin Dai couldn't keep up with his terrifying cultivation speed. Perhaps only the number one genius of the empire, Crown Prince Dongfang Ding, could keep up with him. He was highly regarded by Crown Prince Dongfang Ding and Emperor Dongfang Lu. When he broke through to the golden core stage a few years ago, he was given the title of Marquis and a piece of land. In terms of status, he was comparable to Lin Hanqing, and was known as the youngest and most promising Marquis in the empire. Although it was rumored that Bai Zhanyun's rapid cultivation speed was all due to elixirs, there was still a difference in cultivation level. Even if he was arrogant and domineering, Everyone was helpless against him. Who could not accept it? After a while, 3 people came down from upstairs. One was a high-ranking waiter, one was a deacon, and one was a female elder. The female elder looked to be in her 40s. She was a nascent soul cultivator and had exaggerated eyebrows. Her entire body was adorned with jewels and jewelry, but the overly gaudy combination gave off an extremely awkward feeling. "Oh, it's Marquis Bai. Are you the one who wants to use this Dragonon 9 Suns grass? Or is your father the one who wants to use it?" Elder Blue was very humble. He bowed and said with a smile. Although she was an elder of the imperial business, she could speak bluntly to the children of ordinary aristocratic families, and even the ministers. But Bai Zhanyun's identity was too terrifying. He was the son of a duke and highly regarded by the crown prince. His future was limitless. How could she put on airs? Elder Lon pinched his cheeks and smiled charmingly. "You're cultivating an ice element technique. Aren't you afraid of messing up your true essence and shattering your golden core if you eat an extreme yang medicine? You're probably using it to please some girl, right?" Bai Zhanyun giggled and said, "Elder Lon is truly experienced. All right, I won't tease you anymore. This extreme yang grass costs tens of millions of top-grade crystals. Did you bring it?" Elder Lon smiled. "Of course I've prepared everything. Who doesn't know that the imperial business doesn't accept credit?" Bai Zhanyun immediately took out a jade slip to store his value. Jiang Tian stood in place and listened to them talk and laugh. He had been holding it in for a long time. At this time, he frowned and glanced at Lin Yang. Lin Yang was also very annoyed. He slammed the table and said, "What's going on? Don't you care about first come, first served when doing business?" Both Elder Lon and Bai Zhanyun's faces darkened, especially Bai Zhanyun. His expression was extremely irritating. His eyebrows were almost raised to the sky, and his eyes were slanted as if to say, "Who do you think you are? How dare you fight with me?" Jiang Tian glanced at the shop assistant and smiled. "Let me ask you, were we the ones who came first and offered to buy this Dragonon 9 Suns grass? Who's going to slap me and knock me out?" The shop assistant felt as if needles were pricking his back. He was so uncomfortable that he broke out in a cold sweat. Damn it, Bai Zhanyun's cultivation was strong and his status was noble. It was not good to offend him. However, Lin Yang was also a big dandy. Although his cultivation was average, he often brought a few nascent soul cultivators with him. If he acted unfairly and attacked him, wouldn't that be a dead end? However, no one slapped him. The shop assistant lowered his head and shivered, not daring to speak for a long time. Bai Zhanyun glanced at Lin Yang and sneered. "Lin Yang, what's wrong with you? Weren't you seducing Fang Goyu? Why are you still coveting Long Jiuxue? You're courting death." Bai Zhanyun hadn't come here to buy the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass for himself. He'd heard that Long Jiuxue, the beloved daughter of one of the 4 great dukes of the Eastern Empire, the Duke of Eastern Gorge, had gone out for training. For some reason, she'd been infected with the cold air and needed an item of extreme yang to detoxify her. Therefore, he'd come here at the first opportunity to buy the spirit grass and curry favor with Long Jiuxue. Lin Yang had also come to buy the same spirit grass. Bai Zhanyun's first thought was that Lin Yang was his love rival. Chapter 1852. I have a great use for this medicine. Why would I need to explain it to you? Lin Yang sneered. Hey Lin Yang, you piece of trash. You're only at the early golden core stage. Yet you dare to bare your teeth at me. Even your father wouldn't dare. Why? Bai Zhanyun laughed strangely, trying his best to ridicule him. Suddenly he looked at Jiang Tian and laughed. Did you bring an expert? However, this kid looks ordinary and has no aura at all. He should be at the golden core stage, or even the foundation establishment stage, right? I can kill him with one slap. Jiang Tian glanced at Bai Zhanyun indifferently, but had no interest in talking to this kind of idiot. He only said to Elder Blue, Elder, I only have one question. Does the Imperial Medicine Hall follow the first come, first served rule when doing business? Elder Blue was used to seeing big scenes. She smiled charmingly. Well, first come, first served is definitely followed. However, there was a hierarchy of priorities. This brother Bai is buying this spirit herb to save someone. As the saying goes, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Moreover, he's a descendant of a duke, a true marquis. Little brother, if you give him face, it's the same as... Bai Zhanyun puffed out his chest and said proudly, "Yes, kid. What's the point of following Lin Yang? Only if you give this spirit herb to me, I, Bai Zhanyun, will protect you in the future." Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could he not see that Elder Blue was on Bai Zhanyun's side? "What if I don't give it to you?" Jiang Tian chuckled softly. "What?" Bai Zhanyun was quite surprised. "Even Lin Yang wasn't as strong as you. Did you eat the wrong medicine?" He laughed sinisterly. "Are you kidding me? I'm the successor of the Northern Frontier Duke, the future Duke of Northern Frontier. I call the Crown Prince brother. Are you not going to give face to the 4 dukes? Kid, who do you think you are?" After venting his anger at Jiang Tian, he looked coldly at Lin Yang and shouted in a cold voice, "Lin Yang, Zhen Yuan Ho was almost bitten to death by Purple Shan Ho and Shan Shui Ho. Don't tell me you think it's not painful enough? Do you think your life is too long? Do you still want our Northern Frontier Duke mansion to bite you a few times?" When Elder Lan heard this, he nodded in his heart. Bai Zhanyun looked arrogant and domineering, but he was not brainless. In fact, he was very clever and vigilant. The people he trampled on were the weak aristocratic families. When it came to the imperial family and the crown prince, he was like a lapdog. He had a clear view of the situation in the empire. Indeed, as he said, Zhen Yuan Ho was surrounded by enemies and was in a precarious situation. The clan was also extremely weak and could be torn to pieces at any time. His words had indeed hit the nail on the head. No matter how arrogant Lin Yang was, for the sake of his family's interests, he must think twice and not dare to fight. Lin Yang stroked his chin and sneered. Indeed, if it weren't for Jiang Tian, he would have to take a detour when he met Bai Zhanyun. There were big and small fops. He could act arrogantly in Maple City, but outside of his own territory, he was far from being able to act on the level of the empire. But now it was different. Jiang Tian came with the coiling dragon jade token and represented the second prince. Who dared to provoke him? Who dared to fight for it? Not to mention Bai Zhanyun, even his father, the Duke of Northern Frontier, dared not. Jiang Tian saw that the corners of Elder Lan's mouth had a smile, and did not come out to uphold justice. He could not help but smile helplessly and said, "Could it be that your Imperial Medicine Hall would rather do business with an idiot than sell spirit medicines to normal people?" When these words came out, there was a dead silence. Looking at Jiang Tian's attire, he was only a guest of the Lin family, but he dared to call Bai Zhanyun an idiot. This was too arrogant and domineering. He was simply courting death. One must know that among the 108 dukes, the Lin family of the Marquis of Zhenyuan ranked in the top 20. The Duke of Northern Frontier was one of the 4 dukes and was famous in the Eastern Empire. The two were not on the same level at all. Even if Lin Yang dared to fight with Bai Zhanyun, it would still be big news. What's more, Jiang Tian looked like Lin Yang's follower. Therefore, everyone felt like they were in a dream for a moment and could not believe it. Bai Zhanyun was even angrier. He approached Jiang Tian and shouted coldly, "Bastard, who are you calling an idiot?" "An idiot is indeed an idiot." Jiang Tian was calm and leisurely. He shrugged and said, "Other than you, is there any other idiot here?" The onlookers were all excited. Damn, this was too exciting. The two families were fighting, and the smell of gunpowder was strong. One was more aggressive than the other, and one was more unreasonable than the other. Was this going to be the rhythm of a fight? "Kid, you're courting death." When Bai Zhanyun heard this, he could no longer bear it. He suddenly roared, and his golden core trembled. A divine white tiger Dharma power more than 10 meters tall rose behind him. This Dharma power had the head of a tiger and the body of a human. It was awe-inspiring. As Bai Zhanyun slammed his palm toward Jiang Tian, the divine white tiger Dharma power also pounced, and its giant claws slammed down. He had a 9th-grade golden core, and it was complete. Although the Dharma power was formed by primordial chi, it was extremely condensed, as if it was solid. The white and lustrous bone hook, like a steel hook, tore through the space. Its ferocious and bloodthirsty aura had already broken through the palace and rushed into the sky. Get lost. In response, Jiang Tian only shook his sleeve gently. Boom. Bai Zhanyin only felt like he was thrown into the eye of the extreme North Sea by his father, who had no cultivation, in the name of a trial. The area within 100 meters turned into raging waves that were more terrifying than the space storm. It could tear and destroy everything. He felt like his whole body was being torn to pieces. The divine white tiger Dharma power was like a piece of paper, quickly shattering. The primordial qi around Bai Zhanyin's body was completely out of control. It surged wildly and collapsed. Then he was hit 100 meters away by a powerful wave of qi and smashed heavily into the wall. He was stuck there like a piece of paper, and he was extremely embarrassed. The power of a sleeve is terrifying. This person is so powerful. Is he a nascent soul cultivator? Elder Lan could not believe it. Because before this, she had noticed that Jiang Tian's aura was peaceful, like that of an ordinary person. She did not expect that his power would be so terrifying. Moreover, he was the most powerful nascent soul cultivator. Elder Lan had never seen such a terrifying power, not even from the clan leader. Bai Zhanyin spat out blood and slid down the wall with a thud. He fell to the ground. He staggered to his feet and shook off the support of his companions. His eyes were filled with jealousy and hatred. His ferocious face was stained with blood, which made him look even more terrifying. He shouted crazily, "My energy center is broken. Bastard, you destroyed my cultivation. I want you dead. I'm going to tear you into pieces." When Elder Lan heard that, she scanned with her divine consciousness again. She was shocked, angry, and anxious. Bai Zhanyin's energy center was indeed broken. This was not like injuries to the body and meridians. It was an extremely terrifying injury. It was extremely difficult for any cultivator to reconstruct their energy center, even with the help of a soul formation cultivator. Bai Zhanyin might have to disperse his cultivation, destroy his energy center, and start from scratch. This meant that his more than 10 years of hard work and the support provided by his family would all go to waste. This was Bai Zhanyin, the son of the duke, the genius of the empire who was highly regarded by the royal family. He was seriously injured in the territory under her jurisdiction. Perhaps the Imperial Medicine Hall would be fine, but she would definitely be involved. No matter what, she had to give the Bai family an explanation for this. Chapter 1853. Is he going to turn the world upside down? He's just a servant and he dares to beat up a duke. With that thought in mind, Elder Lan shouted, "Guards, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and surround this kid for me and take him down. Don't leave, young Marquis Lin. The Lin family has to give me an explanation." "You want an explanation? I'll give you one." Jiang Tian chuckled and took out a tape from his storage ring and threw it to Elder Lan. Elder Lan took a look and was enraged. He yelled, "What kind of explanation is this? How dare you? The language here is different from the one on Earth. How boring." Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. Rumble. Numerous powerful figures rose from the palaces and squares one after another. One after another, heavily armed cultivator guards flew over and surrounded Jiang Tian and Lin Yang. Most of them were golden core cultivators, and the more powerful ones had even reached the nascent soul level. After all, this was a royal pharmacy and there were a lot of valuable spirit medicines and spirit herbs, so they were well protected. Even nascent soul heavenly lords and soul formation grand cultivators wouldn't dare to cause trouble there. Open your eyes and look carefully. I've got the dragon badge. Who dares to attack me? Jiang Tian frowned when he saw this. He took out the coiling dragon token and threw it to Elder Lan. Bai Zhanyin looked down on everyone and spoke arrogantly. He deserved to be beaten and humiliated. However, these armored cultivators were merely following orders. Each of them had parents, wives and children. Jiang Tian wanted them to die in his hands. Jiang Tian didn't think he was a kind person, but he didn't want to kill the innocent. In fact, the further Jiang Tian went on the path of becoming immortal, the more he understood, the more pity and respect he had for ordinary people. Only when one knew that he was an ant from the grass could he still maintain a normal heart after reaching the top. Therefore he could sit down and discuss the Tao with the Buddha Lord and the Tao Venerables, and he could also talk to small Khanate cultivators as equals. Those who became arrogant and thought they were superior to all living beings would definitely suffer the backlash of their inner demons. Even soul formation cultivators were only evil gods in a sense. Elder Blue took the jade token and looked at it carefully. He was also skeptical. This jade pendant had a strong magic power fluctuation, forming the phantom of a true dragon that coiled around it. The Tao mark imprint left behind by the Second Highness could not be faked. However, she couldn't figure out how the second prince's jade pendant ended up in the hands of a servant. Even Lin Yang and Lin Hanqing were not qualified to get it. You must have stolen His Highness' jade tablet. This was a major event that could pierce through the heavens. Quick, 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 ask the hall master to come out. Elder Blue hurriedly shouted. Before he could finish his words, a man wearing a green robe with the pattern of plants and trees embroidered on his chest flew over from one of the main halls. He had a lean face with deep facial features, an elegant temperament and calm eyes. At first glance, one could tell that he was an experienced and intelligent person. He was more than one level higher than Elder Blue. Hall Master, this person is causing trouble here. He actually dared to hit young Marquis Baijianyun, and even stole Second Highness Coiling Dragon Jade Tablet. He's not hitting us, he's hitting the golden signboard of our Imperial Medicine Hall. He's hitting your face, he's hitting Second Highness' face. Elder Blue walked in front of the Hall Master and shouted loudly. As soon as she finished speaking, slap. Hall Master, he slapped her face and sent her flying more than 10 meters away. Are your eyes on your butt? How dare you offend a distinguished guest? This is Wanderer Siqing, a famous doctor valued by the Second Highness. She's the one who cured the princess's chronic illness. After beating up Elder Blue, Hall Master He's aggressive expression immediately turned into spring. He walked toward Jiang Tian with a face full of joy, cupped his fist, and said with a smile, "Thank you for your kindness. Wanderer, young duke, I'm He Chuang, the Hall Master of the Xianji branch. My subordinates are blind and have offended you. Please forgive them. I have a few bags of good heart cleansing tea in my hall. Why don't you have some tea while the servants prepare the herbs?" It's fine, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. Lin Yang was flattered. He felt good from head to toe and hurriedly returned the greeting. He was well aware of Xianji branch Hall Master He's aloofness and arrogance. Forget about him. Even if Lin Hanqing were here, Hall Master He might not even look him in the eye. After all, Lin Hanqing was a trusted aide of the second prince and had control over cultivation resources. There were plenty of nobles and officials who asked him for help. But now he was the one who got to enjoy this treatment. How could he not feel good? Jiang Tian also nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Those who don't know are not guilty. It's a piece of cake." He never cared about an ant-like person like Elder Blue. If she really pissed him off, he could just kill her with a spell. No one would know. Seeing that Jiang Tian and Lin Yang were fine after slapping him, Baijianyun was flustered and exasperated. He shouted, "He Chuang, how can you be so unfair? I was beaten up in the royal family's territory. Don't you want to cut this person into pieces and give me an explanation? Where is the dignity of the empire? Where is the dignity of the royal family? Where is the dignity of the nobles?" In the blink of an eye, He Chuang had already heard the whole story through divine sense communication. Hearing this, he was instantly enraged. With his hands behind his back, he said with a cold expression, "Marquis, you also know that this is the imperial family's territory. I would like to ask you, Baijianyun, which is more important, the dignity of the imperial family or the dignity of your Bai family?" "Well, of course the dignity of the royal family is more important," Baijianyun said. Although the royal family was poor and weak now and did not live up to its name, no one dared to publicly deny the royal family. This is the royal family's business. You dare to commit violence here and disrupt the order. Aren't you disrespecting the royal family and deceiving your superiors? He Chuang directly pinned him with a big label. Baijianyun was shocked and said hurriedly, "He called me an idiot first. Do you think I should just tolerate it? You dukes can fight among yourselves. Go out and fight. Who wins and who dies? I don't care." However, in the royal family's territory, you have to abide by the royal family's rules. Otherwise, I will protect the dignity of the royal family's business. He Chuang shouted coldly. Hija, do you mean that I was beaten up for nothing? Bai Zhanyun shouted angrily. My dantian is broken. My 10 years of hard work was destroyed in a day. If I report this to my father, can you afford to be punished? At this point, his eyes were filled with tears. He looked pitiful and wronged. After all, he was still a child and did not have a strong mind. His frailty was completely exposed. Elder Blue was shocked when she heard this. She hurriedly ran to He Chuang and said in a low voice, Yes, the Lin family is only a marquis and is half dead. The Duke of Beijiang's Bai family is on the rise and has a deep relationship with the Crown Prince. We should make a wise choice on which side to stand on. A wise choice? I think you're the stupidest. He Chuang scolded in a low voice. The Imperial Medicine Hall was founded by the second prince. The second prince and the Crown Prince are fighting for the throne. As the manager of the royal family's business, and one of the second prince's men, you dare to stand on the Duke of Beijiang's side? Haha, just wait for your death. Besides, the Wanderer is treating the princess. You sold this medicine to Bai Zhanyun, and had him curry favor with Long Juxue. Is Long Juxue's life more important than the princess's in your eyes? Haha, it's not even enough for you to die once. I'm afraid your soul will be imprisoned and roasted in demonic fire for 100 years. Is the water that deep? Elder Blue was so scared that she trembled all over. Her face was pale and she did not dare to speak again. Chapter 1854. However, she couldn't figure it out. Princess Dongfang illness was so serious that even the miracle doctors of the Imperial Medical Hall couldn't cure it. Could this servant of the Lin family do it? However, she didn't dare to ask. She hurriedly found some pills to treat Bai Zhanyun's injuries and persuade him. No matter how much Bai Zhanyun gritted his teeth, Jiang Tian ignored him, and went to the back of the palace with He Chuang. Drink tea first, drink tea first. As for the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass, the servants will naturally prepare it. He Chuang was very polite. After sitting down, he personally brewed tea and served it with both hands. Jiang Tian was the second prince's favorite, so he didn't dare to slight him. Even Lin Yang thought highly of him. This heart-cleansing tea was as green as jade and overflowed with spiritual qi. After drinking it, it would dispel one's inner demons and calm one's soul. It was very beneficial to cultivation. A cup of tea is equivalent to a month of Lin Yang's monthly expenses. Good tea, good tea. Lin Yang was full of praise and enjoyed it very much. He was also in a very good mood. It seemed that his luck had improved after meeting Jiang Tian. Young Duke, you have good taste. This heart-cleansing tea was plucked from the mother tree of the heart-cleansing tea tree in the Imperial Tea Forest. The Emperor of the East personally rewarded me for curing the Empress Dowager's strange illness. He Chuang flattered with a smile. The three drank tea and chatted while waiting for the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass to be prepared. Fellow Taoist Jiang, young Duke Lin, it's ready. Very quickly, Elder Blue personally brought out a jade box with a 500-year-old Dragonbone 9 Suns grass inside. This time, she didn't dare to be arrogant. Like a lowly servant meeting her master, she apologized to Jiang Tian and Lin Yang. She lowered her head and explained the origin and medicinal properties of the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass in detail, answering all the questions. Elder Blue, where's Bai Zhanyun? He Chuang suddenly asked. After swallowing a healing pill, he left. He even asked me to apologize to fellow Taoist Jiang and young Duke Lin on his behalf. Elder Blue smiled. He Chuang waved his hand to dismiss Elder Blue, then set up a divine sense isolation array. Sir and young Duke Lin, be careful. If Bai Zhanyun wants to kill you. Not bad. Jiang Tian nodded. He had met Bai Zhanyun a few times in his previous life. At that time, in his previous life, Bai Zhanyun's path was very smooth. In the end, he successfully reached the soul formation stage, and became Dongfang Ding's right-hand man. Jiang Tian had studied this person thoroughly. He was ruthless and vicious in his actions and was as cunning as a ghost. If he were to show goodwill and show weakness, he would instead start a war. It was just to make it easier to get rid of suspicion after the incident. Seeing how calm Jiang Tian was, He Chuang couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder and think highly of him. Those who have a thunderous heart, but whose face is as calm as a lake, can become a general. In the past, those cultivators from beyond the river would feel uneasy if they offended ordinary local cultivators, not to mention the nobles of the empire. However, Jiang Tian was still as calm and collected as ever. It was no exaggeration to say that he was even more shrewd than Lin Hanqing. Yet this person was so young, not even 100 years old. He Chuang said in a deep voice, "The Duke of Beijiang has a foundation of thousands of years, and there are many men of sacrifice under his command. There is an organization called Dark Thorn, formed by evil cultivators who were pardoned by him. They are loyal to him. Most of them are at the peak of the nascent soul stage, and there are even a few at the soul formation stage. Sir and young Duke, we have to be careful. Don't scare me." Lin Yang's hands trembled, and his face became very ugly. This shadow was so strong that he could flatten the Lin family, let alone him and Jiang Tian. "Young Duke, don't be afraid. The Dark Thorn is far away in Beijiang. It will take at least 3 days to cross the entire country to come here. But after 3 days, you have to be careful. Today, I will personally escort you home. No matter how bold they are, they won't dare to do anything to me." He Chuang was a very loyal person. Or rather, he was very loyal. After all, he was the second prince's man, and his interests were the same as Jiang Tian's. "I'm not afraid. A mere Duke of Beijiang is a chicken feather." Lin Yang was still stubborn, but the next moment, he exposed the fear in his heart. He hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, let's go quickly. I suddenly remembered that Go Yu made lunch for me and wants me to go back to eat." Jiang Tian waved his hand and said with a smile, "Wait a moment. Hall Master I wonder if the Imperial Medicine Hall has Sunfall Stone. I don't need much, 1/2 kilogram is enough." Sunfall Stone? 1/2 kilogram? He Chuang's face changed when he heard this, and became exceptionally strange. He muttered, "This kind of medicinal stone is much more precious than the Dragonbone 9 Suns grass. It is an energy stone left behind after a star is destroyed and the sun falls. It contains the laws of the sun and fragments of the great Tao. It is extremely rare and precious, and can be said to be priceless. Although the Imperial Medicine Hall has been paying attention to this treasure for a long time, they have never collected it. 1/2 kilogram is just one tael." He shook his head with an expression of wanting to help but unable to do so. Lin Yang immediately became anxious and said gloomily, "The Imperial Medicine Hall is the largest medicinal pill store in our empire. If even they don't have Sunfall Stone, then I'm afraid you can't find it in the entire empire." It's over now. The princess's illness is difficult to cure. Our Lin family will not be able to escape the crime of deceiving the emperor." He Chuang suddenly smiled and said, "I'm afraid it's just as the young duke said. There's no such medicinal stone in the empire. But what about outside the empire? What about the entire Saint Origin world?" "Hall Master he is right." Lin Yang suddenly understood and said, "The ancient medicine hall." When these 3 words were mentioned, even the arrogant and domineering Lin Yang revealed a shocked and fearful expression. There was no other reason. The ancient medicine hall was one of the top sacred grounds in the entire Saint Origin world. It could suppress the Tian Luo sect and be on par with the Luoying sect. As for the high and mighty Haotian sect in the Eastern Empire, it was nothing in front of the ancient medicine hall. A sacred ground required the birth of void return saints in every generation. There were countless soul formation and nascent soul stage cultivators in the sect. Their strength was extremely terrifying. Moreover, the ancient medicine hall was a sect that specialized in alchemy. Cultivators went against the heavens and broke the shackles to strengthen themselves. They had to rely on external forces, and the most important of these external forces were pills. No matter how much of a genius you were, absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth would still be slow. However, pills were the essence of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Consuming pills to cultivate would naturally allow one to advance 10,000 miles. For example, the number 1 genius of the younger generation in the empire, Bai Zhanyun, was able to cultivate at such a fast speed. Was it really because he had a good foundation, extraordinary talent, or great wisdom? perseverance, and luck? That was not the case. In terms of these, he was not even comparable to many poor mortals. However, he had the backing of the Duke of Beijiang, who was rich and controlled a large territory. Naturally, he could provide him with countless pills. He could eat pills like candy. As long as he could eat them, control them, and refine them, pills could change one's fate. Therefore, the feudal lords, aristocratic families, and even other sacred grounds and sects respected the ancient medicine hall. As long as they could form a relationship with the ancient medicine hall, they would not hesitate to sell everything they had. Therefore, the ancient medicine hall's power was extremely terrifying. They were high up and looked down on the entire Saint Origin world. It was not an exaggeration to say that if they did not like any sect, aristocratic family, or even an empire, the entire Saint Origin world would immediately move to tear them to pieces and raze them to the ground. He Chuang nodded slightly and revealed a hint of pride. Yes, the ancient medicine hall. I used to be an elite disciple of the ancient medicine hall. I do have some old friends. I will contact them in the next few days. If there are any falling sunstones, we will go and purchase them together. Even if they don't have any now, they are better informed than us. As long as there are still falling sunstones in the Saint Origin world, they will definitely find it. As the hall master of the Xinji branch hall, which was second only to the chief hall master, He Chuang's status in the Eastern Empire was extremely high. He was as important as the Marquis. However, one could see that in his heart, he was more proud of his identity as an elite disciple of the ancient medicine hall. Chapter 1855. Well, I'll have to trouble you, Hall Master. Jiang Tian thanked him and got up to leave. It's all for the second prince. You're welcome. He Chuang walked the two of them to the door. After beating Bai Zhanyan up, Lin Yang was very happy. He was beaming with joy and chattering all the way. Back at the Wind and Moon courtyard, Princess Dongfang was cleaning the courtyard with Jiang Beibei. Although the princess was sick, she forced herself to stay awake. She dipped a wet towel in spring water and wiped the leaves of a pot of dark plum placed in front of Jiang Tian's window. The leaves were originally a little dusty, but after she wiped them, they became more crystal clear and green. Jiang Tian discovered that his bedding was also neatly folded, and the room was bright and clean. It seemed like it was all done by her. This girl was quite shy and not good with words. She probably thought that this way was to repay Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian found Lin Dyer pacing back and forth in the courtyard again. He could not help but frown. Seeing Jiang Tian's unfriendly face, Lin Yang immediately walked over and begged, "Sister, what are you doing here?" Lin Dyer ignored Lin Yang and strode over. She said coldly, "Let me ask you, did you beat Bai Zhanyan? Even his dantian was destroyed?" "Yes, what's wrong?" Jiang Tian said indifferently. Lin Dyer only heard the news from a few old friends in Bibo City. Although she was angry, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. After all, she felt that Jiang Tian would not be so arrogant as to beat Bai Zhanyan. But at this moment, she got confirmation from Jiang Tian. Even her last glimmer of hope was shattered. For a moment, she was so angry that her delicate body could not help but tremble. She shouted angrily, "Do you know the identity of Bai Zhanyan? He is the genius of the empire, the son of the Duke of Beijiang, one of the 4 dukes. He is highly valued by the crown prince. You have offended him. Not only will you die, but my Lin family will also suffer." "I know, but I still have to beat him," Jiang Tian said lazily. "You're too arrogant." Lin Dyer could not believe her eyes. She looked at Jiang Tian as if he was an idiot. "Don't you know how powerful the Duke of Beijiang is? He was a peak-stage soul formation cultivator, and was only 1 step away from becoming a saint. He also had 1,000,000 soldiers under his command. Even Nan and Gongfang had to be cautious when they met him. Dare I ask, what are you going to use to withstand the fury of others? Even if you have a sacred-grade golden core, you can only fight against a nascent soul cultivator. Do you think you can defeat a soul formation divine lord?" The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She waved her hands and shouted hysterically, "Do you think that just because you're treating the princess and someone the second prince values, they won't dare to kill you? You're too naive. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Even if they don't dare to kill you in public, they can still kill you secretly without anyone knowing. What can you do? This has nothing to do with you. If anything happens, I'll take full responsibility. Jiang Tian said coldly. Was the semi-god realm really that great? Not to mention, he had killed countless of them in his previous life. Even after his rebirth, he had killed dozens of them outside the Earth Gate. You'll take full responsibility? That's easy for you to say. You're now the guest of the Lin family, two grasshoppers on the same rope. How can they let the Lin family go? Lin died, or stomped her feet in anger. If they really want to deal with the Lin family, I'll protect the Lin family. Jiang Tian was unperturbed and relaxed. You're just pretending to be confused. You know that the Lin family and the second prince value you and will clean up your mess for you. You have someone to rely on, so you're arrogant and cause trouble everywhere. Lin Dai, gritted her teeth and hated Jiang Tian to the core. Originally, she wanted to persuade Jiang Tian to apologize to the Beijiang public gate, and even prepared a lot of gifts. But seeing how arrogant Jiang Tian was, she didn't want to talk to him anymore. She said coldly, "Good words can't persuade a man who deserves to die. Fine, I don't care. I'll let you die. Don't be disrespectful to fellow cultivator Jiang." Lin Yang scolded. "Humph. You're also a good-for-nothing. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Don't you know how to stop him?" Lin Dyer scolded and walked away. "What's going on? You even dare to scold me? You're so fierce. Let's see who dares to marry you in the future." Lin Yang's face turned red, but after all, she was his sister. He was helpless and depressed to the extreme. In just a few months, he and Jiang Tian got along very well. He even had the idea of betrothing his sister to Jiang Tian. But now the two of them quarreled as soon as they met. They wouldn't be happy together. After Lin Dai returned home, she was unhappy. Suddenly, a servant reported that her father and mother were summoning her. When she came to her father's study, Lin Hanqing coughed and said, "You two take your time to discuss. I still have some official business in the city to deal with." Lin Dai was suspicious. Why was her father avoiding her? Mrs. Lin took her little hand and said with a smile, "Dyer is 25 years old today. According to the imperial tradition, you should be married at this age. Is there any young man you like? As your mother, I can give you some advice." Lin Dai's face turned red instantly. She couldn't help but think of the handsome face of Li Yichen, the eldest senior brother of the Nine Mysteries sect. A year ago, the sect assessment of the Nine Mysteries sect was presided over by him. At that time he was only 30 years old, but his cultivation was already half a step away from the divine transformation realm. His magic power was extremely strong. Moreover, he was handsome, polite, and elegant. He was also very enthusiastic and protective of her. He pointed out her mistakes in cultivation. Every time he pointed out a problem, he hit the nail on the head and enlightened her. After a few days of getting along, she fell in love with and admired Li Yichen. However, in front of Li Yichen, she, who had always thought highly of herself, even felt a little ashamed. She felt that she might not be worthy of Li Yichen. Besides, she was a girl after all. She was thin-skinned. How could she tell the person she admired in her heart? Lin Dyer said, "Mother, I'm still young. I still want to be filial to you and father. How can I consider the matter of a cultivation partner?" "You're not young anymore." Mrs. Lin had a picturesque appearance and a dignified and elegant temperament. She smiled and said, "When I was your age, I already gave birth to your brother. Besides, the hidden dragon trials will be held soon. Do you think your brother alone can protect our family's title?" "Mother, do you mean that if I find a husband he can participate in the trials as the son-in-law of the Lin family?" Speaking of this, Lin Dai's face became serious. The hidden dragon trials tested the overall strength of a family. Of course, the strength of the direct descendants was the most important, but the strength of the daughter-in-law and son-in-law was also an important reference. Now Lin Yang's cultivation of the Golden Core realm had not improved in 10 years. He could be called the trash of trash and would definitely lose. Fang Gouyu and Lin Yang's marriage was firmly stopped by Nan and Gongfang Jinlong. It would be difficult for Lin Dai, to do this alone. The best strategy was to find a powerful son-in-law. That's right. Find a husband with extraordinary talent and strength. He can be called a great hero. The two of you will amaze the world in the Hidden Dragon trials. You will be able to protect your family's title and land, and you will also be able to raise the prestige of our Lin family. Isn't this a wonderful thing? Mrs. Lin said patiently. In particular, our Lin family is indebted to this person. It's like giving us a new lease on life. Extraordinary talent and strength. He can be called a great hero. Hearing this comment, Lin Dai's heart thumped. In her opinion, only the eldest senior brother of the Nine Mysteries sect, Li Yichen, was worthy of this title. Chapter 1856. Did he do a great favor for the Lin family? He must be referring to the fact that he chose me to enter the Nine Mysteries sect. Once I enter the Nine Mysteries sect, I can reach the divine transformation realm quickly. Who would dare to bully the Lin family? Could it be that my parents have sensed my worries? Thinking of this, Lin Dai's pretty face blushed, revealing a touch of joy and shyness. She said softly, "In order to revive the family and keep the title and fief, I will listen to all your arrangements. Then I'll call Siqing Sanren over and make this matter clear to her face to face." Suddenly, the door was pushed open and Fang Jinlong walked in with a happy face. He did not go far, but hid outside the door and used his divine sense to investigate the conversation between the mother and daughter. After all, as a father, it was not appropriate for him to tell his daughter about this kind of thing. Seeing that Lin Dai agreed, he could not help but show up. With his hands behind his back, he smiled happily and said, "I think this man is definitely a holy grade gold core. So simple, it is very likely that he is a holy grade nascent soul. His future is limitless." Lin Hanqing did not notice that his daughter's face turned pale, and her delicate body trembled as if she had heard bad news, and was struck by lightning. He said with relief, "The key is that this man is loyal and kind, brave and resourceful, and has a great vision. He is worthy of our trust. In the future, we will find a way to send him to the Nine Mysteries sect. You two will climb the long road to immortality hand in hand. With his help, your mother and I will be able to rest easy even if we die." "What? You are talking about Siqing?" Lin Dai suddenly screamed. "Father, mother, are you crazy? You want to marry your daughter to a cultivator from beyond the Milky Way? A bumpkin from a remote place? Did he propose this? He is a toad who wants to eat swan meat, a fool's dream." Hearing this, Lin Hanqing's face changed and he said, "Daughter, you don't agree?" "How can I agree?" Lin Dai screamed. "I am the daughter of the Marquis, and my status is noble. What is he? Just 3 months ago, to put it nicely, he was just a rogue cultivator. To put it bluntly, he was a refugee without any roots, just like an ant." "Daughter, listen to me." Lin Hanqing realized that she was wrong. Although Jiang Tian had saved Lin Dai and saved the Lin family, she was not grateful to Jiang Tian at all. She did not even have a good impression of him. He quickly pressed down on Lin Dai's shoulder and said sternly, "Heroes don't ask where they come from. Thousands of years ago, our Lin family was just a bunch of bandits who occupied a mountain. How much stronger can we be compared to the cultivators from beyond the river? To be able to have today's noble title and fief, it was all because of old ancestor and old ancestor Dongfang." His words were sincere and earnest as he said solemnly, "Since ancient times, heroes have faced many trials and tribulations, and there have always been hedonistic young men. Your big brother, Li Ludao, comes from a good family, but other than fighting with dogs and fighting with each other, what else does he know? Without the protection of the family, without the cultivation resources provided by the family, they would have long become ordinary people. For Mr. Siqing to achieve what he has today, the more humble his background is, the more it proves that he has great wisdom and perseverance. Daughter, you have to understand that when it comes to cultivation, one's own temperament, perception, and perseverance are more important than one's background. No matter what, cultivation still depends on oneself." He was almost pleading. "Think about it again. He is not a simple person. Now he is just a small lotus that shows its tip. One day, when he completely shows his strength and becomes a giant in the Saint Origin world, I'm afraid that even the princesses of the royal family and the goddesses of the Holy Lands and Holy Sects will fight for him. By then, it will be difficult for you to get close to him. By then, you will regret it. I don't care. Lynn Dyer was disdainful and shook off her father's hand. She thought that even if this person had a divine nascent soul, he was still inferior to Li Yichen and Dongfeng Ding. She said coldly, full of disgust. This person seems to be low-key, but in fact, he thinks highly of himself. He is arrogant and doesn't know that the strong are easy to break. He is stubborn, self-opinionated, and doesn't listen to others. With this kind of character, he can't go far. This is in our Eastern Empire, where the second prince and the Lin family appreciate him. If it was in other chaotic places, I'm afraid he would have died and the grass on his grave would be 10 feet high. Father, do you know that today he sent Bai Zhanyin flying with a slap and broke his dantian? I already know about this matter. Lin Hanqing was not surprised and said in a low voice. The Duke of Beijiang, Bai Xianlin, and the Duke of Nanhe, Fang Jinlong, have been at odds for many years. They support the Crown Prince, Dongfeng Ding, and the conflict has long been irreconcilable. And we belong to the second prince's faction. Sooner or later, there will be a war between the two sides. Do you think that Xiqing's slap was wrong? No, it was a good slap. What? Father, you still think that he was right? Lin Dyer couldn't believe it. Daughter, I know that you are meticulous and thoughtful, but sometimes you are too weak and lose your sharpness. You are afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind. You think that by giving in and being tactful, you can win the respect of others. In fact, everything depends on strength. Lin Hanqing didn't know how to pass on the wisdom that he had accumulated in his life to his daughter. He sighed helplessly and said, Let's take this dispute as an example. Do you think that when your brother and Mr. Jiang knelt and begged for mercy, Bai Zhanyin would give up the Dragonbone Nine Sons grass? No way. It would make the world laugh. We have the second prince's carved dragon jade token, and we can beat him. Are we going to swallow this humiliation? Are we going to continue to let that little bastard of the Bai family ride roughshod over our Lin family, and do whatever he wants? If we don't beat him up, where is the dignity of our Lin family? Lin Hanqing's eyes flashed with a sharp cold light, as if there were flames of war dancing in them. In fact, Bai Zhanyin had bullied the Lin family more than once or twice. Not to mention the juniors like Lin Yang and Lin Dyer. Even when facing him, the elder, he spoke rudely and arrogantly. After the news of Jiang Tian sending Bai Zhanyin flying with a slap spread, Lin Hanqing was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to reward Jiang Tian again, open the door, and hold a banquet to celebrate Jiang Tian's achievement. The banquet would go on for 3 days and 3 nights. However, if he did that, the Duke of the Northern Frontiers by family would be eager to take revenge. Therefore, he kept a low profile. Lin Dyer didn't know how to refute, but she still tried to defend herself. Father, no matter what you say, you can't change the fact that he is brainless and impulsive. He does have a certain level of strength and has brought honor to our Bai family this time. But is he a match for the Duke of the Northern Frontier? A man without foresight is bound to have immediate worries. I think the Duke of the Northern Frontier's revenge will come soon. I will be prepared for this. Lin Hanqing was also a little worried. Before he could speak again, Lin Dyer said with a face full of disdain, Father, you can't talk about this marriage anymore. I won't accept it no matter what. Not to mention his poor background, his terrible character, and his lack of roots. We can forget about all these. Father, have you ever thought that he is a widower with a daughter? I am a precious daughter. If I marry a widower and remarry him, won't I become a joke? How can a chicken match a phoenix? He doesn't deserve me at all. Besides, being that stinky girl's stepmother is so disgusting that I want to vomit. A forcibly picked melon is not sweet. I won't be happy. In the end, her clear and beautiful eyes revealed infinite determination. She said coldly, Father, that's all I have to say. You're on your own. If you dare to force me, I will die in front of you. As she spoke, her face was as cold as frost, and she left in a huff. Lin Hanqing was left standing on the spot, stunned and confused. Chapter 1857. Sigh. Lin Hanqing frowned. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. He said angrily, "How can she be so arrogant and short-sighted? You taught her. Why are you blaming me? We agreed a long time ago that I would take care of the children's daily life, and you would teach them how to cultivate. Now this is a matter of being human." Madame Lin walked away and said angrily, "I'm going back to my mother's house to rest for a year. You can sleep alone at night. Don't come looking for me, or I'll die in front of you." It's this again. Throwing a tantrum and threatening death. Didn't I learn this from you? Lin Hanqing felt a headache coming on. However, Lin Hanqing was still a rather vigilant person. He immediately increased the defenses of Jiang Tianqing's Windy Moon courtyard and reinforced all kinds of formations. The exterior was loose, but the interior was tight. This was to prevent the Bai clan from assassinating them. He also sent a guest of the clan to bring a generous gift, and immediately rushed to the Duke of Northern Frontiers Bai clan to express his apology. Deep in the imperial city Western Palace, Second Prince Dongfeng gently put down the memorial in his hand and took a sip of the refreshing tea on the table. He looked at a personal guard and asked, "Is there any movement at the Zhenyuan Marquis residence?" "Your Highness, the Zhenyuan Marquis residence is very peaceful. What about that gentleman?" According to He Chuang's report, Mr. Jiang went to the Imperial Medicine Hall and got into some trouble with some disciples. He slapped Bai Zhenyun's dantian so hard that it split open. This trusted guard also reported the information he had gathered in full detail, not missing a single word. He actually defeated Bai Zhenyun. Could it be that this person is not only heaven-defying in the Tao of pills and medicine, but also in the Tao of cultivation? That's right, it said that he's only at the Golden Core level, but the Lin family's nascent Soul Peak guards couldn't even block one of his palms. Dongfeng was shocked and seemed to have understood something. Then he sipped his tea and said rather proudly, "This Bai Zhenyun, relying on the protection of the boss of the Eastern Palace, is arrogant and domineering, and thinks that the empire is his by family. This is good. There's finally someone to teach him a lesson." However, I also received another piece of news. That trusted guard said. That Duke of Beijiang used the excuse of treating Her Highness's illness to order all the trading companies in the country to buy out all Yang attribute medicinal stones. Apart from the Imperial Physician Hall, and Imperial Medicine Hall under the Second Prince's control, notify all the other trading companies. Preposterous. Dongfeng was so angry that the muscles on his cheeks twitched. As long as there are medicinal ingredients, how could this consort not be able to afford them? This treacherous official made it sound even better than singing. Treating the princess? I'm afraid it's because of that girl Long Juxue. The Bai clan's actions are not superfluous. They're just using a clever excuse to cut off the Lin clan's path of survival. They're trying to cut off the princess's path of survival. He was acutely aware that Crown Prince Dongfeng was behind this matter. Because the Duke of Beijiang alone wouldn't dare to do this, nor would he be able to do it. At this moment, his heart was filled with sorrow. It was often said that noble families were as deep as the sea, merciless and cruel. Then what about the imperial family? It was 10 times or 100 times crueler. One shouldn't be fooled by the extravagant lifestyle of overlooking millions of territories and controlling the lives of the people. However, only when one was in the midst of it would one feel that bone-chilling coldness. It was as if one was treading on thin ice and felt uneasy. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that one was in purgatory. Before this, he had been tolerating it for the sake of self-preservation. However, this time it involved his sister's life. Anger rose from his heart. A fury that he had never felt before surged in his chest. His eyes shone with a cold, sharp killing intent. Your Highness, please calm down. There's no need for you to be anxious about this matter. The trusted guard hurriedly bowed and said, however, the Bai clan's actions are useless. Hall Master, he said that only one of the spiritual herbs and medicinal stones that Teacher Jiang needs is left. The Eastern Empire doesn't have this kind of medicinal stone at all. They're planning to ask the Ancient Medicine Hall for it. The Ancient Medicine Hall. Dongfeng Li's expression was grave. He was short of breath and had a complicated look in his eyes. He had single-handedly nurtured the imperial medicine hall. Although it was called the property of the imperial family, he had great influence. It was like a private property, and he had the final say. However, the ancient medicine hall was different. It was a top-notch sacred ground. Even his father had to be courteous when he saw one of their hall masters. He did not dare to offend them. However, he had no influence in the ancient medicine hall. The ancient medicine hall had a long history of tens of thousands of years. It had accumulated a terrifying amount of wealth. It could be said that even if the entire imperial medicine hall was given to the ancient medicine hall, they might not even look at it. It was like a small stone thrown into the ocean. It was negligible. I didn't expect Princess Ying's strange illness to be so difficult to treat. He actually wants to deal with the ancient medicine hall. At this moment, Dongfeng Li suddenly felt that he owed Jiang Tian a lot. He felt that he had given Jiang Tian too little support. However, he had nothing to support Jiang Tian at this moment. It could be said that Dongfeng Li and the Dongfeng royal family did not have any bargaining chips to trade with the ancient medicine hall. It was like a rich man in a village. He had garlic, eggplants, and beans growing on hundreds of acres of land. He lived in a 3-story villa, and even had a domestic car. He could be considered a successful person in the village. However, if you wanted to do business with Ali Corporation's Jack Ma, wouldn't that be a dream? Now, I can only pin my hopes on him. Hopefully, he will be able to buy the medicine and cure the princess. Dongfeng Li sighed inwardly and made up his mind. If Jiang Tian could really cure his sister, he would definitely thank Jiang Tian heavily and treat Jiang Tian like a living god. The expected revenge did not come. The matter of Jiang Tian injuring Bai Zhanyin seemed to have gradually died down. However, Zhang Linfeng and the other local guards were secretly laughing at him. Zhang Muyin worked even harder. He cultivated diligently every day, or went outside the city to hunt demon beasts. His face was very gloomy, and his eyes were burning with the flames of battle. It was as if he wanted to catch up with Jiang Tian. Guo Chuandong and a few other nascent soul stage cultivators from outside the river were guarding Jiang Tian's residence every day, waiting for anything that might happen. They were all proud of Jiang Tian, and seemed to have become Jiang Tian's loyal followers. Lin Dai never appeared in front of Jiang Tian again. Even if they occasionally met in the Marquis's mansion, he ignored her. On the other hand, Dongfeng Ying ran to Jiang Tian's residence all day long. Every day, she was inseparable from Jiang Beibei. Sometimes they would study delicious food, and sometimes they would buy some birds, insects, fish, and beasts to play with. She was also extremely respectful to Jiang Tian. She was careful and took good care of him, as if she had become Jiang Tian's servant. On this day, Jiang Tian had just finished eating the demon crab soup and spicy dried dragon fish, made by the two of them. Under the expectant gaze of the two girls, he nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Not bad. You've improved a lot. You've already surpassed the cooking skills of the master chef in the city." Jiang Beibei immediately cheered. Dongfeng Ying also seemed to have received a great reward. Her beautiful eyes were shining, the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, and a sickly flush appeared on her face. "Are you so happy?" Jiang Tian looked at her and smiled. Chapter 1858. Well. Dongfeng Ying's head drooped slightly, as if she was ashamed and a little embarrassed. She said softly, "My body is disappointing. I've been a medicine jar since I was young. My cultivation progress is slow, and I don't know anything about governing a country. Even his poetry writing and needlework skills are not outstanding." Her beautiful eyes flickered as she smiled and said, "Ever since I was young, no one has ever sincerely praised me. You're such an excellent person, and you're sincerely praising me. I'm very happy. Tell me the truth. Your culinary skills are definitely not bad in this place. But compared to the chefs in my homeland, haha, you're too weak." Her face darkened when she heard Jiang Tian's words. "But it's not hopeless. If I can return to the ancestral planet one day, I'll take you to Lanxiang and the new Oriental Academy to learn," Jiang Tian said leisurely. "Lanxiang? New Oriental? Academy? It should be the Sacred Ground Divine Sect. Dong Fangying's eyes sparkled when she heard that. She smiled and said, I hope I can live until that day. The excavator is also very powerful. Jiang Tian chuckled. He must be proficient in earth-type cultivation methods. Dong Fangying thought to herself. At this moment, He Chuang was wearing a ritual implement mask and had arrived with Lin Yang. Even Fang Goyu and Lin Hanqing had rushed over. After greeting each other, they dismissed their attendants. Jiang Tian asked, Is there news about the Sunfall Stone? The ancient medicine hall does have a Sunfall Stone. It's of a very high grade, and is kept in a branch of Icebound City. But that's the territory of the Duke of Beijiang. He Chuang said with a serious expression. Lin Hanqing's expression was also very ugly. If we go there to get the medicine, the Duke of Beijiang will send experts to assassinate us. What should we do? Before Jiang Tian could say anything, Lin Yang said, Father, let's just spend a lot of money and ask them to send the Sunfall Stone to our Lin family. Spend a lot of money? Haha, I'm afraid that even if we give them the fief of Maple City, it won't be enough. Lin Hanqing glared at his son and said earnestly, Moreover, the Hall of Ancient Medicine is extremely arrogant, and they have never delivered any goods before. They always ask the customers to pick up the goods themselves, and they don't take any responsibility after they leave. He Chuang's face was also full of shame. He shook his head and sighed. Sigh, it's still the old man who is useless. I've been away from the ancient herb hall for too long, and my friendship with my friends in the sect has faded. They won't give me any face. I have no choice but to go. Seeing this scene, Lin Yang felt a headache and his heart was horrified. Not to mention the vast northern frontier, the Duke of the Northern Frontier had many terrifying forces. Even if it spanned across the entire empire, it was still terrifying. Some of the barren lands were infested with monsters or heretical cultivators. Even soul formation cultivators could die there. Why don't I accompany you? I still have a few guards with me, and they are quite powerful. Princess Dongfanging suddenly interrupted. That's good. Lin Yang's face lit up. However, Lin Hanqing pondered for a moment and shook his head. Princess Ing, I've noticed that there seem to be hidden sentries around the Marquis residence. You and your guards are all famous figures in the empire. Once you go out, you will definitely attract attention and alert the enemy. Dongfanging was also put in a difficult position. Although she didn't have any talent in cultivation, she was very intelligent. She immediately understood Jin Yuanho's intention. If it was only Jiang Tian and Lin Yang going out, it was very likely that they were going out for sightseeing or city missions, and those hidden sentries wouldn't pay much attention to them. However, once Dongfanging or her guards went out with them, it was equivalent to writing their purpose on their faces. They would immediately be tracked down, and what followed would be endless assassinations. Listening to their careful planning, Jiang Tian leisurely sipped his tea and ate his snacks. His face was calm, and he even felt like laughing. Now, unless the Saint of the Void returned from the sacred grounds of Saint Origin World acted, who could hurt Jiang Tian? It could be said that any plan didn't matter. Jiang Tian could guarantee that he would bring back the falling sunstone safely. Not to mention the ordinary nascent soul and soul formation cultivators of the Bai family. Even if the Duke of the Beijiang personally attacked, Jiang Tian was confident that he wouldn't mind killing him. So, the best way is for Lin Yang, fellow Daoist Jiang and Mr. He to bring back the falling sunstone without attracting attention. After some discussion, Lin Hanqing made a decision and looked at Jiang Tian respectfully. What do you think, sir? Okay. Jiang Tian's words were concise and comprehensive as he nodded. It was quickly decided that 3 days later, they would go to Icebound City. During these 3 days, the Jinyuan Marquis residence was calm on the surface, different from before, but in fact, there were already undercurrents surging and they were moving quickly. Lin Hanqing almost took out the family's Dharma treasures and weapons and gave them to Jiang Tian and Lin Yang to protect themselves against the enemy. Wind and Moon Courtyard needs to be strengthened, Fang Goyu suggested. The guards of the Lin family and the Fang family should all stay in Mr. Zhang's courtyard. You know, it's very troublesome if the backyard is on fire. As for our side, The little princess lives here and her guards are enough. Yes. Lin Hanqing agreed and said seriously, the Duke of the Beijiang and Bai Zhanyin are both narrow-minded and vengeful people, and they do things despicably and shamelessly. They might attack Mr. Zhang's family. That girl is Mr. Zhang's lifeblood. 3 days later, Jiang Tian used his divine art of deceiving the heavens and changed his appearance to Guochuandong's. He also changed Lin Yang's appearance to that of an old servant. After changing his clothes, he took a gray carriage and left Hofu in a low-key manner. The carriage looked simple and clumsy, and it was pulled by a Foundation establishment black flame horse. It was an ordinary carriage used by the marquis residents to purchase or transport supplies, so it didn't show off at all. On it were a few packets of demon crab cakes and spicy arowana made by the princess and her daughter. Let's go. Lin Yang held the rune whip in his hand and lashed out. The demon beast, which was surrounded by black flames and stood on a black cloud, flew into the sky and flew away. In the courtyard, Lin Hanqing, Fang Goyu and Dong Fangying all looked up at the sky and prayed in their hearts that Jiang Tian would have a smooth journey. Indeed, someone is following us. Jiang Tian smiled. His vast immortal will had already detected a few people hiding behind the carriage and following them on flying swords. But he didn't bother to expose them. A bunch of cowardly bandits. Jiang Tian's eyes were full of disdain. Those guards were only nascent soul cultivators, and they wouldn't dare to do anything in the Lin family. After all, the Fang family and the second prince had more than one soul formation cultivator there, and countless soldiers and cultivators. They hoped that it would be easier to make a move after Jiang Tian, and Lin Yang left the Lin family in Maple City. Haha, these guys are really blind. No, your Xian art is too powerful. What a great, stealing the sky and swapping the sun. Lin Yang said with his immortal will. As expected, after leaving Maple City, those guards confirmed that it wasn't Jiang Tian and Lin Yang, then hurried back to the city and hid again. It's just a small trick. In fact, Jiang Tian even used the art of deceiving the heavens to make Guochuandong look like him, and Lin Yang also had a substitute. Only soul formation grand cultivators could see through such a Xian art. How could those nascent soul guards notice it? As for the effects of the cultivation method, it would take 3 days for it to dissipate. By the time the hidden sentries noticed, Jiang Tian and Lin Yang had already left the Red Rock Basin and entered the incomparably vast and complicated territory of the empire. It was like a dragon returning to the sea, a tiger returning to the forest, allowing them to roam freely. If the Duke of Beijiang wanted to kill them, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chapter 1859. 3 days later, outside a training hall in the depths of the Duke of Beijiang's residence. That's too cruel. The Duke of Beijiang is really furious. Marquis Zhanyin is going to be beaten to death. Many nascent soul stage cultivators were frightened and uneasy. They trembled rhythmically and gasped from time to time along with the terrifying cracking sounds. Pa pa pa. Long whips engraved with runes tore through the air and pierced deeply into Bai Zhanyin's chest, making hair-raising sounds. Bai Zhanyin was completely naked. His arms and legs were spread out in the shape of the Chinese character, as he was tightly bound to the rack. A tall, muscular man with black hair all over his body was holding a long whip that was filled with special potions. Without showing any mercy, he whipped the man again and again, as if he was going to whip him to death. Bai Zhanyin was biting a dragon bone in his mouth. It had already been bitten to pieces, but he did not dare to let out a cry. He only stared ahead. On the huge screen of light in front, the image of Jiang Tian sending Bai Zhanyin flying with a flick of his sleeve was repeatedly played. Bai Zhanyin's eyes were filled with hatred. He was like a wolf or a tiger. He could not wait to jump into the picture and swallow Jiang Tian. Unfilial son. Do you know why I want you to be punished by the family law? Gong Bai Xianlin of the northern frontier had a resolute face that seemed to be cast from copper and iron. His neatly trimmed beard was like a steel brush on the surface of a fan. His pair of tiger-like eyes were cold and emotionless. When he opened his mouth, he was overflowing with a domineering aura. His voice was like a great bell that seemed to be able to collapse the training field. Father, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have bullied the weak and caused trouble outside. I shouldn't have caused trouble for the family and embarrassed you, Father. Bai Zhanyin said in a hoarse voice. Bullshit. Bai Xianlin suddenly lost his temper. He kicked over and broke the rack, sending Bai Zhanyin flying to the wall. The kick was powerful and merciless. Bai Zhanyun's head hit the wall directly, creating a dent in the granite wall. When he fell to the ground, blood spurted out of his mouth, along with 3 white teeth. Bai Xianlin didn't even look at him. He strode over and stomped on his son's face with his black iron boots. He said word by word, "Don't worry. Although I don't like you stirring up trouble outside, I don't like you to be such a loser even when stirring up trouble. Even a lion will use all its strength to catch a rabbit. Even if the opponent is just a rogue cultivator from beyond the Milky Way, a servant, you are a genius of the empire. You shouldn't be so careless. You should know that once anyone becomes your enemy, they have the qualification to make you use all your strength. Do you understand?" "I understand. I won't underestimate any opponent. I'll definitely get my revenge." Bai Zhanyun's skull creaked under his father's military boots as he screamed at the top of his lungs. Killing with full force is the greatest respect for the enemy. Bai Xianlin snorted coldly. "Revenge? Let's think about it at length. Your Dantian has been destroyed, so you need to recover as soon as possible. During the Hidden Dragon trials, if you don't kill Lin Yang and Lin Dai, or for me and snatch their family's title, I will kill you. My son, there are no cowards. If they are trash, I will kill them directly," he roared. "I will remember father's order. Not only them, I will kill Jiang Xiqing." Bai Zhanyin gritted his teeth and realized that all his teeth were shaking. He was in so much pain that he gasped. Clang! Bai Xianlin kicked him in the face again. His nose collapsed and all his teeth fell out. His head almost became a bloody gourd. "What did I do wrong? Please teach me, father," Bai Zhanyin roared. "That person doesn't just have a sacred golden core. He hid his cultivation. He might be a sacred nascent soul, or even stronger." Bai Xianlin stepped on his face as cold as iron. He increased the strength of his foot and roared. "You trash! Even if you recover to your peak, you are still no match for him. Only the Dark Assassins, or father, can kill him." "Father, are the Dark Assassins going to do it?" Under his military boots, Bai Zhanyun's face was twisted and deformed. He was ecstatic, and blood was spurting out of his mouth. However, he was still laughing maniacally, and his eyes were filled with extreme hatred. He roared, "Father, I beg you, please detain his nascent soul and divine soul. I want to torture him. I want to take revenge for what happened that day." Yes, a few of the Dark Assassins have been keeping an eye on him. Once he goes out to look for medicine, he will be discovered and then be surrounded and assassinated. Bai Xianlin's eyes flashed coldly and he roared with murderous intent. "That bastard dares to attack you. He doesn't take the Duke of Beijiang seriously. I will cut him into pieces. Also, I won't let Jinyu and Duke Lin Hanqing go. I will kill them all." Suddenly, a member of the Dark Assassins appeared like a ghost. He knelt on one knee and said, "Duke, I have something important to report." He hesitated and didn't dare to say anything. "Speak," Bai Xianlin shouted. That Jiang Xiqing and Lin Yang suddenly disappeared. Dark Thorn's voice trembled in fear. "Suddenly disappeared?" Bai Xianlin's expression changed drastically. He said coldly, "Don't you owe me an explanation?" They used some kind of cultivation technique to change their appearance, turning the 2 guards into Lin Yang and Jiang Xiqing. They may have disguised themselves as ordinary mortals a few days ago, and went out of the city to get medicine. The Dark Assassins guessed. Now we have completely lost track of them. You deserve to die. Bai Zhanyin was furious. He shouted at the Dark Assassins. "How could we let him escape? If he can cure the princess with the royal protection, when can I kill him? Haha, stealing the sky and changing the sun, changing the appearance?" Bai Xianlin laughed maniacally with a strange look in his eyes. He said coldly, "If you become an ordinary mortal, I'll kill you like killing ants. Lin Hanqing, you can't fight with me. I didn't kill your son or your guards. But father, where are we going to find them? Bai Zhanyun asked. I've already received news that they will go to the ancient medicine hall's branch in Icebound City. Bai Xianlin smiled happily, but there was a cruel glint in his eyes. He said coldly, Lin Hanqing Jiang Xiqing He Chuang, no matter how much you think about it, you probably didn't expect that the third hall master of this branch in Icebound City is my brother-in-law and also my spy. He became more and more proud. First, they can't buy the Sunfall Stone. Second, once they leave the ancient medicine hall's territory, I will have the dark assassins kill them. Father, that's great. Bai Zhanyun said excitedly. I want to go and see. I want to see how they will trample him into meat paste. That's good too. I've asked the ancient medicine hall to refine the medicine to repair your dantian and reconstruct your golden core. You can go there and get the medicine. Bai Xianlin's eyes were filled with hatred. Chapter 1860. And on Jiang Tian's side, together with Lin Yang, after a few days, they crossed the mountains and arrived outside Icebound City without any danger. This was the northern part of the empire, located on a plateau. The mountains and ridges were covered in snow and ice. The air was so cold that one's breath would turn into ice. Mortals had to wear thick animal skin clothing to keep out the cold. Spirit herbs were blooming on the various mountain peaks in the surroundings. Orchids swayed gently, and the spiritual energy here was 10 times denser than in Xianji Forest. Snow lotus, ice hibiscus and other spirit herbs of the ice element were of high quality and could be used by soul formation cultivators. The most eye-catching thing was a gigantic pill furnace that pierced through the clouds and into the horizon. It was at least 1,000 feet tall and appeared before the two of them. The cauldron was crystal clear and looked like it was made of ice. It was a spectacular sight. This is the second cauldron of the ancient medicine hall. It's so tall that it's almost as tall as the surrounding mountains. Can it be used? Or is it just a simple sculpture? Lin Yang looked at it excitedly and clicked his tongue in wonder. This was the territory of the Beijiang Duke. Although he had heard about it, it was his first time here because of his family's bad relationship with the Beijiang Duke. An old cultivator who was passing by explained, "This is real. It's the treasure of the ancient medicine Divine Lord. It was left here after the Divine Lord passed away. Many heavenly lords and immortal lords have come here in the past tens of thousands of years, but they couldn't take it away. It's said that only sacred alchemy masters can refine this cauldron." He is sitting on a huge snow qilin, holding a huge red wine gourd and sipping wine. On the back of the qilin, there is a bamboo basket the size of a water tank, which is filled with all kinds of fresh herbs. It seems that he should be a herbalist or something like that. Sacred alchemy master? I wonder if He Chuang can reach that level. Lin Yang murmured subconsciously. He Chuang of the Xianji branch of the Imperial Medicine Hall? After getting confirmation, the old man's face showed a touch of contempt. He smiled and said, "He's just a nascent soul cultivator and a soul formation cultivator at most. He's just a heavenly alchemy master. Now only the master of the ancient medicine hall, Alchemy Saint Gu He, can use it. He's the only one in the entire continent. Damn, this magical artifact is so terrifying." Lin Yang suddenly became a muggle. "Looking at the two of you, this should be your first time in Icebound City. This old man would like to remind you." The old man was a kind person, so he kindly reminded him, "Don't worry. Icebound City is very important to the Hall of Ancient Medicine. Due to the extreme cold, it is convenient to store medicinal herbs here. Thus, the Hall of Ancient Medicine's warehouse is located here. It is ranked second in the continent, second only to the Mountain of Ancient Medicine. But in terms of the abundance of medicinal herbs, it even surpasses the ancient herb mountain city." His expression was stern and his gaze was slightly solemn. He sighed and said, "I heard that Gu He's daughter, the goddess of the ancient medicine hall, Ms. Gu Xian, is the chief alchemist here. She has more than 10 soul formation alchemists following her. Therefore, although this icebound city did not look big, the water was too deep, even deeper than the Eastern Empire's imperial city. Nascent soul stage cultivators are common and soul formation stage cultivators will occasionally appear. There might even be void return cultivators. You have to be careful and don't offend any of them. Otherwise, no one will be able to save you. When Lin Yong heard this, he repeatedly nodded. After the old man finished speaking, he rode Xue Qilin and hummed a tune as he entered the city. There were no armored guards within 100 miles of Icebound City. However, it was orderly and no one dared to start a fight here. Even the nobles and the imperial family had to abide by the law. The reason was simple. The history of Icebound City was longer than that of the Empire. It was a leased city. Although it was on the Empire's territory, the Empire had never really occupied this area. The Hall of Ancient Medicine had the final say in everything. Let's disperse the art of deceiving the heavens. When the carriage arrived at the city gate, Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. His fat body became tall and straight, and his chubby face became thin. His facial features were deep, and he still looked the same as he did in the past. Isn't this too eye-catching? Brother, don't be so rash. Although Icebound City belongs to the Hall of Ancient Medicine, the surrounding area belongs to the Duke of Beijiang. It is like an isolated island in the ocean. Once we buy the herbs and leave the city, we will be in trouble. Lin Yang's face changed wildly and turned pale. So what if Jiang Tian was a divine nascent soul cultivator? This was the territory of the Duke of Beijiang. He could summon a dozen semi-god realm cultivators here. Who could stop him? Don't worry. Nothing will happen. Jiang Tian took out a piece of spicy dried dragonfish, stuffed it into his mouth, and chewed slowly. As he ate the snacks made by his daughter, he felt as if his daughter was by his side. His heart felt warm. I beg you. Although Guo Chuandong is fatter and uglier, for your safety, please bear with it for the time being. At this moment Lin Yong was trembling. His eyes were red and he was about to cry. Silly boy, don't cry. Don't worry. As soon as we come into contact with the people from the Hall of Ancient Medicine, we will be treated as guests. When we return, they will escort us all the way back. Do you think the Duke of Beijiang will dare to touch someone who is valued by the Hall of Ancient Medicine? Jiang Tian smiled calmly and patted Lin Yang's head like a loving father. Not only did he not change back, but he also changed Lin Yang back to his original form. I'll throw it. Can you stop dreaming? Seeing this, Lin Yang really cried. Brother, this is your first time in this continent. Don't you know the situation of the Hall of Ancient Medicine? They are one of the top sacred grounds in the entire continent. They don't care about the Eastern Empire at all, let alone us. Escort? They might not even sell it to us. I'm afraid we'll be lucky if we can even meet the person in charge. Facing Jiang Tian, Lin Yang felt like he was about to break down. Cry. Cry. It's not a crime to cry. Jiang Tian chuckled. If you're afraid, go home. I'll go get the medicine myself. I want to go home. But can I? I didn't bring a single guard with me. I'm just a golden core cultivator. I'm not even enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Lin Yang beat his chest and stamped his feet, saying, Brother, you are putting me on the fire to roast. You want me to be driven into a corner to temper my Dao heart, but you don't have to be so cruel. Jiang Tian only smiled and did not say anything. Sigh, I'm still following you. Let's walk this path to the end. You want to die, right? Why do you have to drag me down with you? Are you really afraid of being too lonely on the road to the netherworld? In fact, if you die, how can I not burn offerings for you? I'll even burn that out-of-print book of mine for you. Seeing this, Lin Yang was helpless. He could only sigh and go into the city with Jiang Tian to look for He Chuang. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.